gentlemen, before we start the conclave, I want to begin on a little somber note. Just wanted to inform you that our Pantaki of our Agyari, our committee member, and the one who has helped us with all the transportation, all the other arrangements, and who was going to do the Hambandagi, his father expired last night. He did the Paidas of his dad today morning, and he and his brother did the Jasan today for those of you who attended. They did the Jasan for us. He wanted to come and do the Hambandagi also, but I told him that you will be busy. Since Erwad Hathiram is here, he'll do it. So I just wanted to inform you that this is what is called commitment to duty and professionalism. So I just want to start on that good note, and now I'll ask Farokh to take over for the evening.
Thank you, Viraf. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Farokh Bathena. I am a member of the WZCC Pune chapter, and I will be a host for today's program. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you on behalf of the WZCC Pune chapter. Many of you have traveled long distances to be here, and on behalf of the entire chapter, I would like to thank all of you for your presence here. We have curated a very special program for all of you over the next 2.5 days, which I'm sure you will find very interesting. We would like to start this conclave with the very traditional Indian lamp lighting ceremony. This is a symbolic ceremony that signifies the dispelling of darkness and the igniting of thought and enlightenment. For the lamp lighting ceremony, I'd like to invite Captain Percy Master, WZCC Global President, Mr. Adel Dower, immediate past Global President, WZCC, Beroz Daruwala, Chapter Chair, Global Secretary, Temas Barucha, Chapter Chair, WZCC Pune, and Viraf, International Director. Thank you everyone. We'd like to now move on with the program. We now have the Hambandagi, which will be performed by Erwad Marisban Hathiram, sorry. Please welcome Erwad Hathiram to recite the Hambandagi and bless the conclave.
Hi, good evening. Can we all stand up, please? We'll just recite. We'll recite 2 Yatha and 1 Ashim for the good progress of our conclave. And after that, I would like you recite 1 Ashim Bahu in memory of Erwad Arda Viraf's father who passed away, so that his soul may progress ahead. So we'll recite 2 Yatha and 1 Ashim, and then 1 Ashim after that. यथा हुवैर्यो अथारतुष अशाचीत हचा Vangeus dasdamanangos shautananam mangeus masdai Kshatrem cha orai ayim drigubyo dadadvastarim Yatha ahuveriyo atharatus ashachit hacha Vangeus dasdamanango shautananam mangeus masdai Kshatrem cha orai ayim drigubyo dadadvastarim Hashem Vohu Vahishtem Asti Ushtasti Ushtamai Yatashai Vahishtai Hashem Hashem Vohu Vahishtem Asti Ushtasti Ushtamai Yatashai Vahishtai Hashem. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward Hathiram. Moving on, we now have the Monajat, which will be performed by the Pune Zarthosti Seva Mandal's children. I would like to invite Hotokshi Setna to come forward and take it ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hotokshi Setna, and I represent Team Zappy Zoroastrians here. Zappy Zoroastrians is a religious class, a Zoroastrian studies class run here in Pune for children aged 6 to 14. And we started with a humble group of 9 children here in Pune in the small accommodation at Seva Mandal. This is an initiative of the Pune Zarthosti Seva Mandal. And when COVID hit, we opened new platforms. We went onto the online platform, thereby inviting students globally from other countries and even smaller villages of Gujarat. So today we have several students, ex-students, current students. We do various activities with them. And our tagline is to have all the global Zoros connect with each other and inspire each other to live a good Zoroastrian life. Today we have put together Monachat. The children have practiced a lot. We are very grateful to Khurshid Irani, who's helped the children in the singing practices, and she's the conductor here. Her son Varun Irani is going to play the organ, and the children are going to sing one Monajat and our religious anthem, Chaiye Hame Zarthosti. So please welcome them. I'd like to also put across the names of the children who are here. We have Freya, we have Kyra, we have Afrina, and we have the small Freya on the other side. We have Huzan, we have Fardad, and we have Vivan. Please give them a big round of applause before they begin. Thank you.
was lovely. Very well done, kids. We'd like Gulnar to please come and felicitate the kids and Hutokshi. And and also, oh, sorry. Thank you, Gulnar. We'd also like to thank Ratush Wadia, their mentor and guide. Thank you very much. Moving forward, I'd like to invite Chapter Chair of WZCC Pune, Temas Parucha, to please give his inaugural speech. Temas.
At the outset, a very happy new year to all of you. May the year 2024 bring best of health and happiness for one and all. And believe me, in Pune, we are really privileged to have all the dignitaries from all over, not only Pune, Bombay, Bangalore, but all over the world with us today at the beginning of the new year. So hope everything goes off well. Ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant good evening and a warm welcome to one and all. It's my pleasure to stand before you as the chapter chair of WZCC Pune, which is the host chapter for the Conclave 2024. And I'm elated to welcome you all for this Global Conclave 2024. On behalf of our Global President, Captain Percy Master, our India Region President, Behroz Daruwala, and on behalf of all members of Pune chapter, on my behalf also, I thank you all for being with us and wish you a very comfortable stay. God bless. As I said earlier, we are really delighted to have people from all over the world. But let me make a special mention here that we have an Iranian delegation this time in Pune, and we really welcome them. We are very happy to have them. And we thank Farokh Mistry for, organizing their entry into India and bringing them to the conclave. I hope the Iranian delegation will have a lot of enjoyment and comfortable stay in Pune. As you must have observed, climate in Pune is very pleasant, and you will enjoy your stay in Pune for a couple of days. So let me tell you briefly about Pune. I will not bore you much about Pune, but little briefly for those of you who are not very familiar with the city. So Pune is known as the Queen of Deccan and Oxford of the East. It is the cultural capital and second largest city of Maharashtra. It has a number of historical and cultural monuments such as Aga Khan Palace, Sinhagad is there, and so on and so forth. You can Google it and find out. The city is industrially well developed and has large number of manufacturing and industrial units, especially belonging to the automobile sector. It's an automobile hub. There is good scope for medium and large scale industries in Pune. As far as the Zoroastrian population goes, Pune is the second largest population. That's what we say, that's what everybody says. Next to Bombay, it is the second largest population of Zoroastrians in India or maybe in the world. I may be wrong. Presence of Pune-based Zoroastrian businessmen, industrialists, and corporate is also quite handsome. Having said that, let me tell you briefly about Pune chapter also. So WZCC Pune chapter was established long back in the year 2004. It is one of the oldest chapters in India, an equally active chapter with a lot of activities and involvement of the members. Our membership is over 100, consisting of mostly individuals, corporate members, student members, lady members, both life members, annual members, etc., etc. We have very two important wings under our chapter, that is Youth Wing and WE Wing. Both are doing very well. Both leaders of the wing are taking keen interest and they are doing lots of activities. We also have quarterly members night where we involve the members. We have organized seminars, functions, events for them, invite outsiders who speak of the interests of the members. So that's briefly about the Pune chapter. Now, as you know, WZCC, World Association Chamber of Commerce, was founded to foster networking, amplify trade and commerce, and rekindle the entrepreneurial spirit among Zoroastrians. Way back in Las Vegas, I was told, or in USA, Chicago, wherever Rohinton, Revetna, and all the stalwarts are here, they thought of WZCC. So now it is about to complete 25 years of its existence. Then shortly it will complete 25 years. So keeping in this mind, and also for making the present conclave memorable and interesting, lot of planning and efforts have gone in organizing this event. From Pune chapter, we have formed a core committee of our senior members, our youth representatives, leading members, etc., so that to involve all of them to get their suggestions, their views, their participation. It is not one-man show, it's purely a team spirit. So having done this at the end of the conclave, when naturally after Saturday evening, when the conclave is over, we'll definitely like to have a report card from all of you. So please give marks leniently, don't be very strict. And I'm sure we will excel in whatever we are going to do, put forward to you in these 2 days. We have also taken help from our global president and India region president, and their ideas and suggestions have helped us in the entire planning. Care is taken to ensure comfortable stay by offering different options to each one of the delegates over here, who can select as per their own budget, starting from Dharamshala to various categories of hotels. So while we wish you enjoyable and comfortable stay, we also desire that there is good takeaway at the end of the period from the conclave, because you have come here, you invested your time and value. So something should be there to take away from the conclave. That is our main game. Now, before I resume my seat, I would like to introduce you my colleagues on the core committee, who have all worked together, giving their time and talent, and have put in their best to make this conclave a grand success, so that each one of you may feel that it was worth investing your valuable time for this conclave. So when I announce their name and when they come here, I will request you to appreciate their efforts by a big round of applause. Sorry? Okay. Now I'll call out the names and request those names to rise at their seat where they're sitting, and if they are outside, they can come here inside. So let's start with Farida Debu. Give her a big round of applause. A very active member of our Pune chapter. I know most of you must be knowing. She's the wife of our international director, Virab Debu. So that is Farida Debu. Dinas Barucha happens to be my wife. In our Lions language, we say first lady of the chapter. Then Utoksi Dadachanji. Veera Bhatena. Veera Bhatena is the wife of the anchor Farokh Bhatena. Poruchi Batliwala. Gulnari Irani. I think she is one of the oldest among them. Am I right? Then we have Benaz Nanavati, our very dynamic young representative. She's a and Bezan has not come. Her brother Bezan, also twin brother, she has got. He is also on the committee. He is not there right now. Of course, not forgetting Virab Debu, our international director. And the man behind the whole show, who has helped us, Adil Malia, with his suggestions, with his involvement, with his help for speakers, for panel discussion, and we have troubled him a lot, though he's a very busy man. So Adil, thank you very much. Not forgetting our anchor, Farokh Batena, also very active member. So these are Porus Dadajan. How can I forgot Porus? Where is Porus Dadajanji? You are not seen. Come here. Acha, okay. Yazdi Batliwala, who is doing the job there already. Where is Yazdi? Yes. So I think these are the main core committee members. Now, back end also we have got help from the youngsters. I would like to call Rashna Debu. Where is Rashna Debu? Yeah. That is the daughter-in-law of Virav Debu. Hoshedar Debu, Virav's son. And not forgetting Vistas Dastur. Where is Vistas? That Vistas Dastur, he is in charge of the transport. So you can catch him for all the transport arrangements. So this was a fine blend of people who really have slogged, worked together as a family to put everything together, and hopefully you will tell us that it's successful or not at the end of the conclave. I wish all of you a very happy stay, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Temas. And you forgot to mention your name. You were the driving force behind the whole, all of us. And today, we are very grateful for you, for your leadership. I would now like to invite Virav to address the gathering. Virav is our international director.
Good evening, all. Welcome to Pune. We are finally here. First of all, thank you for all coming to a conclave just 5 minutes after the last one ended. I know it's not easy for everyone. I'll tell you a small story about conclaves. Shehnaz engineer is not here from London, so we have full liberty to tell stories of our own. Zubin, don't tell her. You know, in 2007 end, I was just on the committee of the Pune chapter, and our chapter chair, Adi engineer, called me and said, we have an emergency. Karachi was given the global conclave, no one was getting visas, and suddenly they shifted it to Pune. We had, I don't think, 2 or 3 weeks, I don't even remember. And he told me, you just contact, there's one lady in Bombay called Zareen Commissariat, you contact her, everything will be done. So Zareen and I was just introduced, I knew nothing about WZCC at that time. But we talked, and in very short period of time, we put together, what was the conclave? An evening at the ladies' club. Nobody came from Bombay, they came straight to the conclave in the bus. And that's when I first met Zareen. Anyway, long story short, we organized it. The next day we had our AGM at the Ruby Hall auditorium, and that was it. So we've come a long way since then, I'm sure all of you agree. Ask Percy Master, who organized the Lonavala conclave. Ask Zubin how easy it was to organize London. And ask Temas and his team about Pune. What has not changed in all this time is Zareen Commissariat's sharpness of proofreading. Thank you, Zareen. WZCC has also come a very long way since then. And I would say mainly under the leadership of Edel Davar and Percy Master. These two global presidents, with their vision, drive, and continuous engagement, have galvanized the WZCC cadre like never before. I'm sure all of you agree. Today, WZCC is a known potent force within the community and even outside. We all have a long way to go. We always will have, but tremendous progress has been made. Everyone knows today WZCC is not any longer about business, teamwork, networking, mentoring, entrepreneurship only. We now talk about and practice funding. And now we've added environment, intellectual, social, economic programs, sustainability. So these are all the things where I don't think anyone expected WZCC to get into all this. But under the leadership of our last two global presidents, this has happened, and with a lot of help from others also. Since we started planning this conclave, we have tried to include all these facets into our program. You can never satisfy everyone, but we have tried our best. It's very difficult to organize these events in a short time, but teamwork makes the dream work, and that is what has happened with our team. Temas has just introduced them. Very long hours have been put in to planning this conclave. And we have also come up with a few unique items which were never there earlier. We have two doodlers sitting somewhere who will doodle all the sessions and put them up for you. So after the session, you can all have a look and refresh your memories, and that will be our property. Maybe we'll digitize them and store them on the website also. We also have something new. We've made a WZCC flag, which we shall unveil tomorrow. And this will go from host city to host city. So we'll hand it over to Toronto on Saturday. The London Conclave, like I said, got over 5 months back. It's a big challenge, not only for us organizers, but also people from throughout the world to travel again, spend so much money, make plans so soon. At the same time, we cannot hold conclaves in the Northern Hemisphere like London and Toronto in January. It's not possible. We in India would freeze to death. So, at the international board level, we are thinking of rationalizing these conclaves. Hopefully, we'll come up with a solution very soon and announce, our global president announce it once the work is done. It's something that is a win-win for everyone. We are working on it. For this conclave to encourage youth participation, we have kept a special, I would say, minimal rate for anyone under 25. Unfortunately, hardly any youngsters bid. This is the same experience we had in Lonavala. It's most disheartening, especially because we, whether it's at the global level, the India level, chapter level, are spending so much time on youth. So something is wrong somewhere, and we need to address it. Further, I always believe that in the middle of this frenzy of youth participation and youth galvanizing, we have to be relevant to our co-members, all of you who are sitting here. And our co-members should not feel neglected. You all have been with us for 20, 30 years. I'm seeing faces that I've seen ever since I've joined. And at least where I'm concerned, and a few of us, we shall continue to try to keep WZCC relevant to you also. While we keep going after the youth, we shall see to it that you all are not neglected. Temas has already announced about the Iranian youth participation. We have kept the entire conclave free of cost for these Iranian delegates. They have paid their own airfare and come, and Farooq is keeping them at his house, and he, Edal, Behram, and all have done a lot of work to get these here. And I'm really happy to see them, because we need to get our Iranian brethren back into the mainstream. They've been neglected, they've been marginalized, I would not say ostracized over there, but we have to bring them back, and I think things in Iran are becoming better. The fact that they are here itself is good. I think we also can go there now in tours. Just now in our pre-AGM board meeting, we had a discussion about whether we can take a trade delegation there. It's Edel Dawa's dream for many, many years. And hopefully, we'll get together soon. Okay, so here we are. Let's get going. We are here at your service for these next 4 days. If anything goes wrong, just look for a conclave coordinator badge. Temas and I are conveniently not wearing them. So anyone who has a conclave coordinator badge, go and badger them, and you'll get what you want. Just some small requests. Please keep to the timings mentioned in the program. We've got off on a beautiful note. Our Jashan was on time. A pre-AGM meeting started and got over on time. We've started this program on time. Let's be on time for all these 4 days. It's something that hasn't happened, but let's do it. If a session ends late, we'll squeeze the lunch and tea a little bit. If it ends early, we'll give you more time. It's up to you. Please pay attention to all announcements that are made for the next session, next day. Please be on time for transport ferries. Don't give Vistas a hard time. Submit all your meal coupons at lunches and dinners. We have kept a bell for sessions. When your session time is going to get over, 5 or 10 minutes before that, Gulnar is going to ring a bell to warn you. So please finish 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum after that. And we can continue with Q&A over lunch, tea, cocktails, dinner. We have a lot of free time. We have one challenge in this conclave, and that is the bus arrangement. Okay, the Crown Plaza gate is small for a bus, and that road is super busy for a bus to stop there. So what we are going to do today is no problem. We are close by and we've organized cars. On the 6th evening, when we go to the Turf Club, and the 7th morning, when we go to Wakefield, all of you who are staying in Crown Plaza should assemble in the lobby a few minutes before the scheduled time. The bus will hopefully stand just next door. There's a vacant plot next door. And you just have to get out of the gate and into the next gate. But everyone has to be together. So please do this coordination with Vistas. All of you have Vistas' number. I've kept it on the conclave group. So let us follow this one discipline. I don't think we have any other challenges as far as this conclave is concerned. Okay, please enjoy the conclave, and thank you so much once again for coming here. Our next speaker, Baman Irani, is stuck in traffic, Bombay to Pune. So, as per the original schedule, we'll start with the panel discussion and the fireside chat first, and then Baman will come afterwards.
I'll let somebody. One minute. Viraf, would you like to introduce Adil, please? I'm calling.
The chief guest was supposed to be really inaugurating the session, but unfortunately, as he is caught in the traffic, the fireside chat will precede the coming of the fire. So, but it's okay. That's reality of changing times. Where is Mani Rao? Hi, Mani. Pleasure to have you here. All right. Viraf wants to introduce me. That's good.
Let's introduce Adil to the gathering.
You know, when we started planning this conclave, Temas and I thought we needed one person who would pivot the panel discussions, fireside chats, advise on programs, think out of our two brains and our committee's brains, and take the heat away from us. The first name that came to my mind was Adil. When I called him, he immediately said yes. Dr. Adil, but I'll call him Adil. Adil has been instrumental in planning many facets of this conclave program. This is in spite of the fact that he's extremely busy, resides in Bombay 5 days of the week, and travels a lot. Adil wears many hats. Personal friend of mine, sitting BPP trustee, big HR honcho, and many more. He's currently the CEO of a boutique business management consultancy called The Firm. Adil holds a degree in commerce, a bachelor's degree in law, a master's degree in human resources management from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. He's attended the Coca-Cola Wharton School, advanced management program, and has been bestowed a Cosa Honoris Doctorate in philosophy. Adil has over 4 decades of top management corporate experience in India and overseas. And he has worked in reputed, professionally managed large national and international companies. Listen to these companies: Godrej, GE, Marks and Spencer, Coca-Cola, and SR at board levels in areas of leadership, HR, IR, and labor laws. He was initially associated with Manek Gagrat and Company. Adil has experience of corporate working in areas of law, industrial relations, human resources, marketing, and OD at senior management and board levels. He is now full-time into business management, consultancy, and advisory services. He is a much sought-after business coach to some of the most recognized CEOs of India. An avid reader, Adil writes in several magazines and is well quoted for his thought leadership and creative opinions. He's a well-recognized doodler. That's why you got the doodle here. A social media enthusiast, a reputed keynote speaker, and he plays the Mohan Veena. I didn't know that. He's also a TEDx speaker. Adil has won several national and international awards, including the HR Grandmaster Award at the WHR Congress. He's ranked amongst the top 110 influential global leaders by People Hum, a global ranking organization. There are many, many things more to say about him, but I'll give the floor to him now. He will be giving us his thoughts on leadership and moderating the fireside chat today. I invite him to take this forward now. And thank you so much for all you've done for this conclave, Adil.
Welcome. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and indeed, thank you for giving me such a decorated introduction. These are some of the reasons why I insist on carrying my wife along, because at home she doesn't believe I have all of that. It's only when she hears it in some conventions and conferences. So thank you, Zubina, for coming over. So we all live in exciting times, and of course we saw the exciting times. We had the chief guest to come, and unfortunately he couldn't come, and therefore sudden excitement changed, and someone who was supposed to come later on has to come a little further, and things like that. So we live in all kinds of exciting times. And life in general, which is very ambivalent and equivocal, just that nothing seems to be predictable. If you were to draw the chart of what we call the punctuated equilibrium of the world, you would draw a chart where, big changes in life are made at long periods of intervals, and then small changes keep happening in between, and then suddenly comes a little period of time when so many changes happen that by the time you realize what happened, a new change comes, and by the time you get adjusted to the new change, yet another change comes, and by the time that another change you adjust, another change comes. And then again it steadies down over a period of time for millions of years when the new gap comes in and new changes are made. We are living in such kind of exciting times, ambivalent, unpredictable. We really don't know what's going to happen. Markets are unpredictable and challenged beyond creative imagination. Earlier, at least we could say, okay, start thinking creatively about what's going to happen. But we are now living in times where the real changes happening are actually challenging even your creative thinking, and it goes much beyond that. Black swan events, which used to happen occasionally to transmit the shifts in the entire change, are now coming so repeatedly that actually they say the normal life is happening between two consecutive black swan events, which are very, very small recess in between each other. At that pace, the kind of changes are happening. Resources and profits, and we experienced it during the COVID time, that resources and profits seem to vanish faster than snowflakes under pressure. And we saw how great companies which had tremendous amounts of profits thought that they would be able to manage the COVID period, suddenly under pressure collapsed and couldn't exist in that kind of marketplace. Uncertainty, despair, anxiety, depression are natural outcomes of human responses to these kinds of changes which we are going to face. And given this situation, there are apparently two things that most of the management literature and things like consultants are talking about. One is that, of course, businesses need to be very, very agile, because you will be expected to make very, very fast creative changes and things like that to bring in the business interventions. So agility becomes very, very critical. But this fireside chat is uniquely created to bring to floor a very, very critical narrative to flourish our organizations with spiritual intelligence, because spiritual intelligence in an organization creates two situations, particularly in the kind of disruptive times, ambivalent times that we are living in. It creates two things. Number one, it brings a certain element of hope in the business, because that makes you give a confidence that, okay, we are going to be surviving, we are going to succeed, we are going to do something else. But more important than that, your spiritual intelligence will end up giving you that distinct and unique, sustainable market advantage, which is what your value creation exercise in such kind of times require. a unique and distinctive market advantage, and that advantage comes with an organization which has a very, very strong spiritual intelligence, and this is what we are doing. The next 2 days of the convention, we are going to be focusing on agility, fragility, and things like that, and anti-frigidity of the organizations. We're going to discuss all of those elements. But whilst we are going to do that, this evening is about focusing on trying to understand how critical is getting the spiritual intelligence of your organization right. And to be able to do that, we are going to put this entire schema of things through 4 lenses. I'm going to be talking about the first lens of the fire chat, and that is going to be about spiritual intelligence. The second frame that we are going to put in is the esoteric frame of our religion. And Erwin Marisman is going to be talking to us about what is the criticality of this esoteric elements of our religion, and how do these esoteric elements help us effectively to become successful in our business life. The third is the artistic lens we are going to put in with my petite friend out here, Perrine Padamji Koyaji, who has done the entire fantastic work of calligraphy around the 1001 names of Aso-Zarathustra, and what prompted her to get in there, and what are the critical 5 or 7 names from 1001 names, which have got implications, which we can draw on and get our energy to be able to see, okay, how through the literature, these are critical values businesses can induct. And the fourth lens is the musical lens, where my friend Mani Rao is going to sing for us a very important monajat and tell us. So trying to look at this entire thing not only from a business intervention point of view, because we are all leaders and corporate entrepreneurs, so we would certainly want to see that, and that is what we will see tomorrow and day after. But today's session is much more about trying to understand the spiritual and the esoteric and the artistic representations of our religion and what lessons they end up teaching us. So let's come to the first lens, which I wanted to talk about for a short while. And that takes me to Donna Zohar, and I think some of you must have heard. She's one of the greatest management thinkers, contemporary management thinkers alive today. And Donna Zohar, she comes from MIT and is a Harvard graduate and has written fantastic books, acknowledged world across, is one of the finest management thinkers, brought the concept of spiritual intelligence for the first time into the mind space of the corporate world through a very, very beautiful book called Rewiring the Corporate Brain. Of course, thereafter, many people, the copycats of the world, talked about re-engineering the inner selves and things like that. But the original thought came from Donna, who really wrote that book called Re-Engineering the Corporate Brain. Succinctly, she explained that spiritual intelligence is the intelligence of the soul as applied to human endeavors of creating value in enterprise. So as the organization starts creating value and you engage yourself in the process of value creation, spirituality is that language of the soul which you hear, though it's not spoken, and are able to convert that into its applicable principles as you go around creating value in your businesses. And finally, we being entrepreneurs and business leaders are generally going to be focused on how do we create value. Spirituality gives you that edge by making you listen to the voice of your soul, which tells you what are the things you ought to do and what are the things you don't need to be doing. It is about a leader's ability to find meaning, to find purpose, and driving the values in life and transferring the same to the organization's culture so that collectively the enterprise makes money. In fact, I remember reading somewhere in an interview, Mr. Ratan Tata was told that what is the difference between you and the Reliance company, because you took so many years to grow and become what you are versus Reliance has barely taken some 60, 70 years and become that. So he said the difference is that they are cutthroat, smart businessmen. We are institution builders and industrialists, and that is the difference. So it is the application of the spirituality quotient to your business that ends up making the real sustainable long-term competitive market advantage, and that is what we are going to talk about. Now, I am going to be taking some elements of the Zoroastrian eschatology and talk about the cardinal angel theory or the cardinal theory of the doctrine of the Amishaspans, which is very, very cardinal to us. And are there lessons that we can pick up from this doctrine of the Amishaspans which can help us determine the spirituality quotient and the spirituality inspiration that organizations need to be able to sustain in this kind of disruptive world that we are living in? Now, most of us are quite familiar with this doctrine, and for some of you who may not be aware, that the cardinal Zoroastrian doctrine of Ameshaspan is predominantly about the 7 angels that Lord Zarathustra, at some point of time, not Lord Zarathustra, Ahura Mazda, identified with an intention to say, how is the world order going to operate? And businesses and entrepreneurs are actually part of the larger world order. Therefore, if the world order observes that, businesses and all of that would naturally be far more influenced by some of these theories that we are going to talk about. So he said, and he created the 7 Amishaspans. And those are the real powerful angel followers or angels or supporters of Ahura Mazda. And he created these heptads of good happiness. So number 1 was Pentamenu, also known as Hormazda. The second was Vahumana. The third was Astavahisti. The fourth, Shastriya Vairya. The fifth, Spenta Armighty. The sixth, Hurvatat. And the seventh, Amartat. Now between these 7 Ameshaspentas, each one was given a certain role. But Ahura Mazda, the wise lord, reserved wisdom as part of his control, which is a lesson for all of us when we are driving lessons in organizations, that as a central leader, whilst you are part of a large team, and very beautiful that though Ahura Mazda is supposedly to have created all of this, he is also considered as part of the heptatad, which means he is part of the 7 Amishaspans, though he is the creator of it. Beautifully to say that as a leader, you are supposed to be actually driving a role, making the team believe you are a part of the team and not the most powerful man of the team, and yet be able to control the final outcomes of what the business or what the entire world will deliver to you. And he did that by holding on to wisdom, because he believed that wisdom and balance are the ultimate controlling points at which, between the alternatives available at each point of time in human life, wisdom would drive the balance, and therefore he controlled, and therefore Ahura Mazda, throughout our entire literature, is referred to as the wise lord. And wisdom is the critical value that is given to him. He then created Vahumana. And which are, if you look creatively, these are the qualities that leaders and organizational cultures need to reflect. Because finally, when you look at what are the kind of companies that have succeeded to effectively come out, are not companies which had a lot of money, but companies which believed in people, reflected empathy, and tried to work towards that. So then he created Vahumana, the good mind. The quiet and the calm mind that is required to do good things, which a leader is supposed to be reflecting in his life. Beyond being wisdom, you are supposed to be very calm. You are supposed to bring goodness into life. You're supposed to translate those elements of goodness. These are spiritual values. Of course, you have to do the right things in the business, in the market world, but these are the guiding principles that you need to be having to be able to drive your business effectively. Ashtavahisti is about righteousness, is about integrity, is about justice. Why we see some very, very effective companies overlooking, say for example, so many times when we are advising companies, we find they do not really take serious implication of the whistleblowers who come and tell that some wrong things are happening because some of their most favorite men are involved in the whistleblower activities as having done wrong things, or sexual harassment policies where some of the very, very critical members of their team have indulged in some of these acts and they don't want to take action because, of course, whilst it is important that for others you would do it, but for some of your friends you don't do it. But that is exactly where organizations go wrong, because it is very important that righteousness and integrity and justice be parts of your spiritual journey that you're running your organization. Spenta Armaiti is predominantly a power given in his heptad, which is humility. As a leader, you are supposed to be humble. You may be as powerful as you want, but unless and until you were to reflect humility, you will not be able to succeed. Unless and until there is tolerance, because not everyone is going to do the right thing. There will have to be tolerance. This is the value of Spenta Armaiti bringing onto the heptad, which is part of the spirituality journey. Now, it looks very esoteric and high-flown, but if you look at the spiritual values, which some of the companies identify, some Indian companies, of course, I know, write down a lot of these spiritual values and make it into very attractive frames and put it behind the cabinet and the wall of the CEO, which is half the time even he has forgotten what those values really stand for. But there are certain companies which filter their organization processes with these spiritual values. And therefore, the question that was asked to me, I also keep advising the Bombay Chambers of Commerce and the Babson University team which had come in one day met me, and they looked at my profile. Somewhere I had written down WZCC. So they asked me this question, that Mr. Mali, I want to know that is WZCC, and of course I always, when I talk about WZCC, half the time I have to explain who Zoroastrians are about. But this time I didn't have to, because having come, he was apparently Zubin Mehta's very good friend, so he knew what Zoroastrianism was all about. And he asked me that WZCC is a Zoroastrian Chamber of Commerce. Is it Zoroastrian because you limit the admission of people who are only Zoroastrians by their birth? Or is there a predetermined model that you are prescribing to your members to follow if they want to be members of your Chamber of Commerce? So is there a prescribed value that people are supposed to be follow as entrepreneurs and leaders if they want to be members? And of course, I evaded the answer because I certainly knew that we were at one point of time only from the admission perspective, Zoroastrian Chambers of Commerce. The prescribed model as such was not there. But this is exactly the criticality of why organizations need to remove the dilutions and bring in some of these values into the operating business models of their organizations to be good. If you look at this heptad model is further supported by 30 hamkaras. And each of these hamkara has a role to say how critical your organization has to be and how well you need to organize your department in terms of capabilities of these angels who have defined roles and who support. I don't know if you're aware of it, that if you look at the Zoroastrian calendar, the hamkaras are of 4 types. And these hamkaras are in a structured power order, which you may not have realized. There are 3 days who are supposed to be actually assisting Ahura Mazda in the fulfillment of his role. And therefore they are Dep Adar, Dep Meher, Dep Din. All those days are the 3 hamkaras who are supposed to be the power assistants, the senior vice presidents of your organization who are supposed to be assisting the CEO. Look at it from that perspective. Structured organization on competency basis. And if those are the larger lessons that we need to pick in, we need to define the social intelligence of our organization from the lessons we pick up. I'm going to quickly summarize this piece by telling what are the 5 transferable lessons that we can really pick up. Number 1, as I said, a well-organized structure is what every organization requires, with clear definitions of roles, with clear duties allocated. Oftentimes, even now in today's world, when we look into the organization and we go for diagnosis, we find that the most simple is the organization structure, which is so confused that it doesn't end up delivering. And that's the first lesson that you'll pick up. Wisdom and balance are the ultimate controlling points of the CEO. It is not the power structure, it is not the career you offer, it is not the shares that you offer, it is not the ESOPs, it is not the promotions, it is not the commissions you offer, but it is the wisdom that the leader brings onto the table, which is very, very critical. And that is a lesson that most of our Parsi organizations could take back if you were to look upon this model or this doctrine of Amisas Spentas to be able to deliver value to us. Inclusive role of the leader is included, but He is not constantly throwing his weight around. He is letting his people run the organization, but constantly controlling them through wisdom. And that's a lesson for all of us. Values reflected in the culture, the spiritual values. There are 8 spiritual values that we look at. What are those? Wisdom, truth, righteousness, and I spoke about some of this, clarity, fairness, social responsibility, and diversity. If you look at the male and the female ratio, there are equal numbers of female and equal numbers of male in the entire angelic model that we are talking about. Diversity is absolutely part of our religious eschatology, and that is very important that all of us need to drive in the organizations. And the last and the most important that I would like to take on is the Farsoker. And of course, Marzban is very famous for his writings on the Farsocraty, which predominantly means that the final renovation back to purity instead of destruction. Our religion does not believe in the ultimate destruction, but believes in the ultimate renovation and creating purity all over again, and which is what resilience is all about. If I use the word resilience, everybody who's come overseas and read management literature understands resilience. The greatest resilience comes also from our religion, which talks about Farsocraty, and that's how we could be drawing. So this, ladies and gentlemen, was trying to put in for the fireside chat and leaving a worm of a thought in your brain that actually organizations require strong spiritual intelligence to be able to survive the kind of times that we are facing. And that is possible if we claim that we are really the Zoroastrian chambers of commerce, which is not limiting only in terms of admission, but in terms of its beliefs, in terms of the models, in terms of the behaviors we want to drive. Then the Amesha Spenta model, the Foresta model, which is also called, is a great model to draw on. And this is a message I leave behind with you. From this lens, I'm going to invite Marzban Hathiram. Edward Marzban Hathiram really requires no introduction for people who have known him, have read his articles, have read his books, really know that he is the one who has been one of the esoteric champions writing about our religion. I'm going to invite him. He is actually an Edward, a Navar and a Martab. He comes from the Navsari Bhagalia group and is a finance professional who worked with Kalyaniwala and Mystery until a long period of time and worked in corporate finance as a finance controller until he decided to then dedicate his life and career to religion. He became the Panthaki of some Agyaris in Bombay and thereafter moved to Udwada, where I understand he has set up his own boutique dadga, which he serves from Udwada. We couldn't have found a better person to talk about the esoteric lens of the religion than Marzban. So Marzban, may I now invite you to please come.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Dr. Adil, for the kind words. Hopefully, I'll make some sense to you. It's a very interesting gathering. I've given hundreds of speeches at different forums, but I have never really been called to present religion at a business forum. So please excuse my inexperience in this line. Generally, Parsis, Zoroastrians, are seemingly very reluctant to talk about religion. And even in pure Zoroastrian companies, the Zoroastrian nature and aspect of their founders is somewhat suppressed. Parsi, okay, let's talk about something else. Which I find is quite demotivating. Especially in a new India, resurgent India, where we are slowly getting over those last vestiges of colonialism and reasserting what India really is. I think it's also time for Zoroastrian companies to reassert their Zoroastrian nature and show why are Zoroastrians different. if you talk to any businessman in India, and after the brief introduction, you say, Parsi hai. And immediately their demeanor changes. There's a respect. There's a very different way of doing things. And you may ask, why is it so? And they say, a very common thing, which may not be true anymore today, Parsi ho jhuttu nahi bole. Means Parsis don't lie. I mean, that is the general conception. Not conception, but the general feeling among any part of India if you go, where Parsis are prevalent. And Parsi businesses were also treated with that kind of respect. Why is it so? What is it different for a Zoroastrian business than from a normal business? So if we go back to the founders, the real pioneers who left the shores of India and went for long ship voyages to China and Hong Kong and set up businesses and generally did what they did during the British Raj. And they became real pioneers. And what were the things which were different for them from the other prevalent businessmen of that age? One is that they were very proudly Zoroastrian. They had no inhibitions of wearing their own dress, of wearing their dagli and pagri. Even when the first baronet was given to Sir Jamshedji Jijibai, he didn't wear a suit and go to meet the Queen. He wore his jama and pagri and proudly put the medal of the baronetcy on his jama. So one thing was that, there was nothing wrong. They didn't feel anything wrong or shy about wearing their national dress, or their religious dress. The second was a predominant, overwhelming belief that we are in business, yes, but this business is not for us only, it is for the betterment of the entire society. And that is why you see that the greatest philanthropic activities of those times, and even maybe till today, were mainly led by Zoroastrian businessmen. And I don't need to explain that to you. It's very well prevalent. So why were Zoroastrian businessmen not reinvesting in their own business? They were. But they were also leaving behind great legacies by their philanthropic activities. The reason was because it was so told in the religion. That they were taught that it is good to make money, but it is better to give that money to others also who may not be so fortunate to it. And so we have those empires of philanthropy, which we see today. The Tata Institutes, the hospitals, the charities, endowments, and so many endowments which have touched probably each and every one of us in our lives and helped us get together. So this was the past. Generally, Zoroastrians are very good about talking about the past. But now we have to think about what is there today. And people say, today the times have changed. Business doesn't work that way as it used to. And there are so many constraints. And the choice is, like Dr. Adil said, you become a good company or you become a good industry. And a lot of people have taken the choice of becoming good companies with good, consistent quarterly earnings, but maybe not so much about philanthropy and giving back to society. It is okay now that it is mandated that, okay, a certain percentage of your profits need to go into CSR, that, okay, so everybody has now started doing CSR. But CSR, not as 1 or 2% of net profit, but CSR as 90% of net profits was practiced by our Zoroastrian forefathers who were in business earlier on. So what is it that today's businessmen can take from our religion and implement in their lives and also in their plans of their companies, which will help them become not only better businesses, but also become better humans? And one thing is very clear. You can be a good businessman, but always a good person is better than a good businessman. So first you have to be a good person per se, and then you can be a good businessman. So Adil asked me, okay, can you give 3 prayers which a Zoroastrian businessman can use? I'm not generally in favor of doling out prayers, because prayers are something which is intensely personal. But within our entire avastha, there are 3 prayers which are, in inverted commas, universal. Universal in the sense that they can be recited at any point of time without necessarily covering your head or having the religious gear, etc. And these 3 prayers were very, very short prayers. The longest prayer is 21 words. The shortest prayer is 12 words. And the middle prayer is 14 words. So people who say ke Dasu ji kai lambu na apta, bahut short ma apjo. So these are short prayers only. And they are known mostly by all of us. 2 prayers are known by most. The 3rd prayer might be a new one for some of you. So what are these 3 prayers? These 3 prayers are the Yathahu Vaidyo, which is the longest prayer at 21 words. The Ashim Vahu, which is the shortest prayer at 12 words. And then there's a 3rd prayer, which is called Yenge Hatam, which is of 14 words. Yenge Hatam is not generally given in the books as an independent prayer. It's part of other prayers. But again, universal and can be used at will. So today I'm going to briefly give you an esoteric is again a very misused word. I will just say that most Parsis, if you ask them what is religion, or Zoroastrians, the common frame is those famous 3 words, good thoughts, good words, good deeds, which I am really sick of hearing. Because actually speaking, no religion says do bad thoughts, bad words, bad deeds. It's not good thoughts, good words, good deeds, not the monopoly of the Zoroastrian religion. All religions say do good, think good, and speak good, and do good. The important question is, who defines good? Because good can be very convenient. Sometimes it is convenient to include something as good, and sometimes it's not convenient. So, moving beyond this good thoughts, good words, good deeds, these 3 prayers have some lessons for us. So I'm going to start first with the Ashem Vahu. Dr. Malia tried to explain the concept of Asher. Again, a very misunderstood word. Generally, people say Asher means righteousness or truth, order. These things are there. These meanings are there. But there is a different meaning behind Asher. Just as Dr. Malia explained the cosmic governance model which exists in nature, where Aura Mazda and the 7 Amishaspentas run this entire divine cosmos. The entire cosmos runs on one thing, and which is truth. Again, universal truth, not personal or convenient truth. When there is truth, there is order. Where there is order, there is beauty. Where there is beauty, there is efficiency. Where there is efficiency, there is profits. Right? So, Asher, meaning of Asher, as is defined in Ashem Vahu. What does Ashem Vahu say? Ashem Vahu Vahishtem Asti. Asher is good. Ashem Vahu. Vahishtem Asti. It is the best. Thank you. There is no other option than Ashem. And why is this so? Ladies and gentlemen, a person who is true, who has no lies in him, he develops a sense of strength, courage, moral courage. He can speak what he wants because he has no repercussions. He knows that I am speaking the truth. When a person attains this level of moral courage, where he knows that whatever he says is based on the truth, the entire cosmos, this divine machinery, this divine governance of Aura Mazda and the 7 Amishaspentas, they get together and they bestow certain blessings on that person. That is the message of Ashimbahu. That if you be righteous, and why are you righteous? For the sake of righteousness, not for anything else. Then the entire nature will recompense you, will reward you with blessings which are beyond your imagination. And you can keep on giving, and the more you give, the more you will receive from nature. So, along with Ashim, then we have Yatha, which is the first prayer which is taught to all of us during the Navjot prayers. So what is Yatha? Yatha is actually the entire plan of the cosmos condensed into 21 words. All companies have a mission statement and a vision statement, and then they try to follow it to some extent. So what is the vision and mission of Aura Mazda? The vision and mission of Aura Mazda is to take the entire creation from imperfection to perfection. Another word for perfection or ultimate salvation is Frashogard, or Frashokarity, as we call it in Avesta. So Dada Aura Mazda has devised a plan where this entire cosmos will move slowly but steadily, one day at a time, and ultimately lose all the inefficiencies and the corruption and the evil, and one day everyone will become perfect individuals. And that will be a collective, first there will be individual perfection, and then there will be collective perfection, which is called Frashogat. So how will this plan work? That is contained in the 21 words of Yathahu Vedyo. Very difficult to believe that 21 words can, summarize everything, but that's how it is. So now we have a vision and mission statement, Yathahu Vedyo. Second, we have a toolkit. Means how will we put that vision and mission into practice? That toolkit is given in the Ashimvahu. Do everything with righteousness. And then to do that, you require a beneficent atmosphere, an ecosystem which lets you lead your life in that way. That ecosystem, that beneficent atmosphere is contained in the third prayer, which is the Yenge Hatam. So, Yenge Hatam, what does the prayer say? It just says that there are certain men and women, Tanscha, Taoscha, who are, through the practice of Asha, they have realized perfection. These men and women, whom Dada Aura Mazda has recognized as leaders of the world, they are waiting for you and me. That you put into practice the toolkit given in the Ashimvahu and realize the plan of the Yathahu Vedyo, which is to lead everybody to salvation. When you do that, these men and women who are perfect themselves will step in to help you. So this is a wonderful trilogy where you have a vision mission, you have a toolkit, and then you have a helping agency which will help you, which will hold your hand, which is like a guide, a mentor, which will take you towards this salvation. This is a very different view of Zoroastrianism than most of you might have experienced or heard about. Now, okay, so this is all very airy-fairy. How do we put it in practice? The easiest way to put it in practice is that most of us, hopefully all of us, wear the Sudra Kasti. And whether we pray or not, we have a bath once a day, hopefully. So we do remove and put it on again. And so we tie the Kasti and the Sudra. So I am going to leave you with an allegory, which you can every day now, whenever you put on your Sadra and Kasti, you will hopefully remember. The Yathahu Vedyo, that is the plan of creation, is depicted in the Sudra which we wear. The Sudra, as you know, is not just a cotton shirt. There are certain folds in it. There are certain pockets in it. There are certain lines in it. Each of those has a special spiritual resonance. We won't talk about that today, but they have a special resonance. So you can say that this Yathahu Vaidyo means the whole plan of Aura Mazda is contained in this Sudre. So every time you put on the Sudre, you say, okay, there is a plan in nature which Dada Aura Mazda has made, and I am one small but significant part of that plan. Then you put on the Kasti. So when you put on the Kasti, what do? You first hold it, you do the prayers, and then you tie it around your waist 3 times, right? And we tie 4 knots. So the 3 times which you wind the Kasti around your waist, those are the 3 warnings or the 3 dangers that every individual faces in his life. What are those 3 dangers? Number 1, ego. That I am something. Which Dr. Malia said, humility, which is against penta-armate. Ego. Second is lust of any type. Okay. And third is lies or falsehood. So when you put your Kasti around 3 times, you are saying, I am aware of these 3 dangers in my life, and I hope that I don't fall for them. Now you tie the 2 knots in front and 1 knot at the back, and 2 knots at the back. There is a thought which you have to pass while tying those knots. The first thought, when you pass the first knot, tie the first knot, is Dada Aura Mazda is my creator. The second knot, when you tie, Zarathustra is his prophet and my prophet. And the third thought is, while you're tying the 2 knots at the back, that with this Sudra and Kasti, may I be faithful to the commandments of my religion and take forward the plan of Ahura Mazda towards salvation. These are 3 simple but beautiful, deep, profound thoughts which you can pass every morning. It doesn't take time. It doesn't take effort. All it requires is a little concentration. You don't do your Kasti mindlessly. You will do it with some amount of thinking. When you do that, what will happen? That a certain change will come into you. You may again find this airy-fairy, but it is not. Our mantras means the prayers which we do. They are composed in a language we don't understand. People complain, why can't we have them in English? Because these prayers have a certain vibrationary effect. If you see the great religions, all great religions, they have prayers in languages which are not in common use today. Sanskrit, Latin, Aramaic actually for the Christians. But they still do use it. We have translations. And of course, today nobody stops you from learning Avesta also. You get scholarships if you study Avesta. The Parsi Panchayat gives people money to study Avesta. I was one of the recipients of the scholarship for that. So, but people don't have time. Okay, so it's not on the list of priorities. So it's not necessary to really know the meaning of that Asham Bahu Vaishtamasti. But when you recite that, a certain change occurs in your aura, in your field, whether you believe it or not. And these thoughts which you pass when you put on the Sudra and the Kasti will help you, change you, will empower you to do business the right way and the Zoroastrian way. And there is no difference between the right way and the Zoroastrian way. So in conclusion, an imagery which you can have is that the Asham Bahu is like a protective shield around us. The Yathahu Vaidyo is like a sword which we find hanging in our Agyaris and Atashberams. And the Yathahu Vaidyo is that help which nature and the cosmic divine machinery will give you if you follow in this steps, which I have outlined to you. So ultimately, we can visualize ourselves that there is a great sea, and we are in a small little boat and sailing away, using these Yatha, Hashem, and Yenge Hatam as a little oar, and we are paddling away to Frashogar, to salvation. We are aware that there are 3 bad spots in the ocean where we can drown or capsize. That is ego, lust, and lies. And finally, we will come ashore one day. And that ashore will be where? Where we drop off and we say, yes, we are now perfect individuals. And drop off, and the first thing we will do is we will recite Yenge Hatam over there and offer thanks to our Creator that we have successfully completed this journey. It's not over. Now we will help others succeed in that journey. Because Zoroastrianism is all about giving back, not just taking for yourself. So I leave you with that thought, that may we all be lucky enough to recite Yenge Hatam on that day when we get off on the shores and achieve salvation, both you and me, as soon as possible. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So I had come with a series of questions which I thought I would ask, but he's answered them all so well, as if he had divine insight into these questions. So there's not really much, but when we throw open these questions to him, we will certainly ask him those questions. Of course, on one aside, he said that the BPP is involved in these Avastian studies. I'm personally in a big battle with the minorities community and the Bombay University, as they have stopped Avastha and the university degrees that they were giving. So I'm personally in a battle with them, trying to get the re-acceptance of Avastha as a language in the Bombay University, though unfortunately we have only 5 students who want to do it. Any which ways, so it's time for me to introduce this beautiful lady who you see sitting out there. She is Mrs. Perin Padamji Koyaji, and everyone knows about her because she's an artist. She is a calligrapher, and who has been engaged in trying to create calligraphic prints of the Avastian names, and of the many things that she has done. Of course, she has been awarded with a Japanese scholarship to go and study calligraphy in Japan, and she's done wonderful work. But she's come out with this path-breaking book. Most of us didn't even know that Ahura Mazda actually not 101 but had 1,001 names. And of course, I remember as a child my father telling me that, but of course I was a child and one wouldn't have taken that seriously until I saw Perrin's book, and I really triggered to buy and read it, and it's very, very interesting. I would seriously recommend that some of you are interested should buy that book and read it. So Perrin, I would request you to come, say a few words, tell us about your journey, tell us what made you really get into this whole idea of writing this, how about using, and what made you really think in terms of using your calligraphy skills to write Dada Ravrama's 1001 names, and the prompt that you got. Just tell us your stories, tell us the narratives.
Good evening. It's a real honor for me to be here today, coming from a family that is probably the oldest corporate family in this part of the world, with the Padamji starting the paper mills 140 years ago. But here I stand with my work, 1001 Names, to bring to you another insight into the beautiful spiritual treasures we have in our religion. I was asked a few questions, so I'll slowly go through them. So what were the prompts that I had to make this book, 1001 Names of Ahura Mazda? Well, it was a series of events, as you can say, a bit of divine synchronization, unknown to me. With hindsight, it all falls into place. Actually, 10 years ago, the day before our twins and my husband went in for their martab, we were bowing at the Vaidyaji Atash Bhairam, where we were called into another room and shown a few books by a priest we didn't know. And he says, "Tamne je joye lai lo." And there, a small little booklet, which could fit into the palm of my hand, was something we picked up and brought home. It had 1,001 names of Ahura Mazda in Gujarati. And I took it because at that time I did 101 names. So this was 1,001, and I put it into my studio cupboard, and it was forgotten. Again, in 2016, by a strange coincidence, I was asked to do the 1,001 names on one artwork for the first time by Dr. Shahnaz Kama of Parzor for their Threads of Continuity exhibition. So that was the time I took out that book, and somehow I did that artwork. I knew at that time that there were discrepancies, and I wanted to have it perfect. But again, it was just a seed in my mind. You know, maybe I'll get a book done, maybe I'll do something. And then what happened was that in 2019, after almost a year, I gathered up courage to ask Dasturji Peer to do the translation and proofreading of the Avesta so I could do perfect artworks. So it is Dasturji Peer's foundation of translation which has made this book. And in lockdown, I did 2 very large pieces of all the 1,001 names, and that sealed my commitment that I had to somehow bring this treasure to the community through my humble art. So I feel that this was a sharing with the Zoroastrian community worldwide to tell you that there are no limits to your dreams. Even Ahura Mazda has 1,000 aspects. And they are wonderful, these names. I have chanted them for 2 years at a stretch. And at that time, it struck me that I really needed the translation of what I was saying. There are many words. If you read the preface which Dasturji Peer has given to the book, there are mystical words, words which really he himself, with all his knowledge, could not distill into English. But these words are very powerful. Other traditions have it, Vishnu Sahasranam. So I thought, why not, gift this to the community as something that can be treasured and passed down. And of course, even this book, as I said, Divine Synchronicity, I was pushed to do an abstract, present a paper, and the paper was accepted after the book was printed. But I was ready with an abstract for an international typography conference before the book even went into print. So you can see that there was a lot of grace that matched the hard work that we were doing, me, my family, and an excellent team support. So the question was, what is the journey from thought to book? Once I decided that I wanted to do this, I was tremendously motivated. It was lockdown, and whatever paper, rough paper I had, Hormuz Roj, I just started it on 12th June 2021 with small thumbnail sketches. And 10, 15 of each name, day after day after day. And when I finished 100 pages, I hit a roadblock because I just knew, since I had not gone to design school or had an art background, which was a formal training, what do I do with all these designs? So a very good mentor of mine, Zehra Tayyabji, she's in her mid-80s. I went to her, and she's an international designer, and I said, will you select the best design? So she sat for month after month. I would send the pages across to her, and she would tick the best design. So all these designs you see are the ones she has ticked from a page of designs that I had gone with the flow and done. So it was months of my labor and her love. In the meantime, post-lockdown, my uncle Padma Shri Dadi Padamji came to town, and he told me that, why are you doing this? Because he was absolutely floored seeing the 1,000 pages. By that time I had finished the thumbnail sketches, and he said, why are you doing this? And for what? I said, no, I have to do it. So in many ways, with hindsight, this was a calling. it was a divinely inspired work. Today, if you ask me, how have you done it? Actually, I do feel that, someone held my hand, believe it or not. So here, after I said, I have to do it, we went ahead. There was an art director, an ex-colleague of mine. I was in industrial copywriting. An ex-colleague 30 years ago, he came from where I was led to him. He helped to be the book designer on this project. And with the summer went by with me sitting at our table, working, 50 done, 60 done, 70, 250, and everyone say, oh, but there's 750 left. But I was ecstatic because this, I knew there was a finite number. I knew this is what I wanted to do. I knew I was going with the flow, and there was tremendous self-belief that I had to get this out. And I remember being very grateful it was summer because the artworks were drying quickly. They say the journey of the 1,000 miles begins with the one step. So every day was the step. And prayer was my staff. Prayer was my staff. I'm saying this because I believe my spiritual guide for this project was Dastur Azar Kaiwan, a 17th century Zoroastrian yogi who I had barely heard of before. And another very special day in this journey was when Dasturji Pir's preface came in before printing, because I was in tears because I knew his contribution was very valuable. Because it was the foundation to all my fanciful strokes, which were just, created for me in a way out of air. It's his humility, his scholarship, and intelligence that binds these pages of the book together. So what are the 3 learnings that I came through with these books? First thing is that everything happens in its time, in God's time. So there were years when I would balance editing and very limited calligraphy while devoting time to the children and the family, and not being an extrovert or marketing savvy or even technology savvy. I feel I got left behind on these points. But today, I have a team and everything is working beautifully. There is a movie, Field of Dreams, which we heard as youngsters, 30 years maybe. And in that, the hero, I think Kevin Costner, he's building a baseball stadium way out somewhere. And he's haunted by the words, if you build it, they will come. And I remember, in the family we were discussing, who will want to read it? Who will want to buy it? Is there any scope for doing a book of this sort? And I keep thinking, if you build it, they will come. You just do what you have to do. And well, it's just 4.5 months, but the books are almost gone. We just did 500 books, 500 copies, because I wanted it to be of a high quality. So we did not stint on anything. But it's been wonderful because even the book release happened in perfect timing. My sister, who comes normally from Vancouver only in December, that year, after 20 years, she came in August. And there we had a wonderful family reunion with my sister, my uncle here. They were helping the family all behind me to get the book launch done, and a wonderful production team. So there was no dearth of self-belief, because that was a learning, that just believe in what you want to do. In fact, even these banners, which I've put up here, it's an honor. It's the first time they are being exhibited. And you won't believe, though I have had these banners on the project given to the production team 2.5 months ago, they came in last night at 10:30. But I was filled with faith that they would come. They had to be shown to the public as one. The second learning was the motivational 4 words, start where you are. So where I was in life, I had to start again once the children went to college. Lot of tears, fears, insecurities, mental blocks. I had to be pushed primarily by Dr. Shahnaz Kama of Parzor and my uncle Dadi Padamji, who have believed in me since 2003. And in 2021, I presented a wonderful journey of my work in the Parzor interview, which is on YouTube. But it encapsulated 25 years of working with something you believe in. I remember I would go to functions and, oh, you do Avesta, but why Avesta? Why not English? Who's interested? Who wants? And I would cringe and say, no, it's what I want to do. I have limited time, and there are a lot of people who will do English. There are a lot of people who can do Gujarati. So it was that germ of self-belief. And 25 years later, I can tell you there has been a groundswell of interest. Around the world, messages come, people are asking, and now I have started doing small things, just a prayer charm, just a bookmark, so that the children can see the cultural heritage and value of our script. Let us not let it disappear. You know, we put the Gara back again onto the fashion scene. So these things are important so that the next generation knows. I grew up with an English, Rastamji's book for my Navjot prayers. But the Navjot book I did has the Avesta, Ashem Yatha, Kemna Mazda, so that the children know that yes, we have a script also. And the last learning was stay the course. You know, you may start out just alone, but at the finishing line, you will find that so many good, devoted, and genuine people come to help you if they believe in what you are doing. Xerxes, Atesh Tishtar, they are my pillars. They have helped with the book, with the paper I presented, every little bit of thing. One of the three do it for me. So I presented at the International Typo Day conference in Banaras. The point is that I wanted to put a Western calligraphy on the map. Typography is there, but calligraphy is something which comes from the hand, head and heart. And I have a loyal team who get my creativity off the ground. My teacher, Master Shri Achyut Pallav in Mumbai, under him I learnt my first Western letters. Zehra Tayyabji, a mentor in her mid-80s, she has always been supportive. There are people who are close friends who've kept me going. Rati Forbes, one of my earliest clients. And I tell you, even for the book, when we finally got the estimate, and we're wondering how do we go ahead with such a large estimate for the printing. It was a big book, and the sponsors came so happily, so generously, because it all belongs to the cycle of belief in doing something that is good. I am indebted to my parents, never restricting my choices, and my clients, people who will come back again and again, saying, you have no idea what joy your prayers are giving to people around the world. I'm not trained, as I said, from a design school, so I go with grace that showers on me and with tremendous faith in tomorrow. Let me say that I have a lot of plans. We have a lot of plans to bring other spiritual treasures out to the community, and I know they will be accepted as joyously. So the 5 names that you asked, these are my, what you would say, very humbly, which I had selected. There is the number 8, which is Kare Dare Se, one who sees the right thing to do. Doing the right thing is, of course, a part of our ethical framework. And Dastuji spoke of Asha and Ashem and righteousness. The consultation with our conscience, Saroshi Azad, which guides us and gives us the clarity of vision. So seeing the right thing to do, I think, is important for every enterprise, big or small. The next one is Zavarecha, number 68, having strength. Again, strength as of purpose, the moral vision for all, the strength of belief, not just to do, but get it done. You need strength to negotiate, to innovate, to risk, to challenge yourself, challenge others, and you need the strength to stay the course. You need the courage of conviction. You need the strength to be sensitive. And here is Armin Modi, one of my heroines. I have seen her strength in action for many years, and I really, I'm very proud to know her. Then there is 91, Tavangar, which is on the face of it wealthy. But wealth is also not just economic. There is wealth of resource, of energy, experience, wealth which is created, wealth of age, wisdom, wealth of health, memory, of mentorship. So the wealth, as a Zoroastrian, as Dasuji said, the wealth is to be created and shared at every step. My father is one who I am seeing even in his 80s. He is sharing. There are people who are so grateful for the mentorship. And that is part of the concept of being a person, an entrepreneur, one who can keep on sharing. There is no end to the sharing. Then at 6:46, there is Arzami Harmaratri, which is bringing up the rear. I think leaders look to the last man, whether it's strategy, execution, or welfare. Teamwork is critical as always, leading from the front and carrying all along graciously, peaceably, and bringing up the rear. For me, that is very important. And I feel that bringing up the rear is a very, very critical part of being a leader. And the last, the fifth one, which you would be aware of, it's 982, Amasht. That is intelligence, which is self-explanatory. Both the speakers have spoken about it. There is no movement or growth without intelligence, from balance sheets to labor management, discipline, to even our democracy. Emotional intelligence is required to be compassionate. Compassion is the need of the hour. Empathetic in our dealings. Intellectual, holistic excellence evolves from intelligence across all spheres, IQ, EQ, SQ. And with that, I will leave you, and thank you for having me here. God bless.
Thank you, Perrin. What a wonderful story, isn't it? So the first time I met Perrin, when we were thinking in terms of curating this fireside chat in these 4 different lenses, I asked, and we were wondering whether, is this the right thing to do and things like that. And so I asked her, so Perrin, what is your journey? And she said one thing which made me decide she's the person. She said, I am putting my strokes to his words. And I said, that's beautiful. Thank you very much. The last one, and of course we will take the question answers a little later on because our keynote speaker, Mr. Baman Irani, is here. So the last lens, which is a very short lens, will complete it. We will take the question answers a little later, and then we will invite Baman to give us the keynote. But would you, Mani, like to come and do your little quick piece? Now, this is the last lens of the fireside chat, the musical aspect to it, and she's going to sing us a beautiful short Monajat, and we also saw the exhibition of Monajat, and try and explain to us the meaning of that so that we understand the entire religion and its transferability to corporate world through a lot of these different lenses.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malia. I don't know whether I belong to this scholarly session or not, but this morning, Dr. Malia called me and he said, oh, you know, you sing Manajat. And then at 2 o'clock, he calls me and he says, oh, can you just say something about 2 minutes, no, less than 2 minutes, sorry. Something about your Monajat, where it is appreciated in the business. So, okay, I said, okay, I will try. And so I just want to say something very short. I won't take too much of your time.
Just seeing you smile out there is such a pleasure.
Oh, thank you very much. I just wanted to say what is Monajat, first of all. Monajat is an ancient word which means direct communication with God. And it used to be written in Persian. And then some of our Parsi poets, just to name a few, Sir Jamshed Jivanji Modi and Mr. Batliwala, they started writing in Gujarati. So now I started writing in English and composed them and recorded them and put them on my website. And now I don't know how I got into this Monajat, but I sing bhajans everywhere, Bollywood singing everything. But when I used to sing bhajans, when I saw one of my colleague, she made a CD of bhajans. So, mane evo kiro chavaryo. Kiro chavaryo means scared. I said, we don't have anything such thing in Parsi is that, I had not seen professionally at that time. So I came to India in 2007, and there's a long story behind, but I'll make it short. So I started thinking about it, and within less than a month, I created the Monajat CD, and it was well received throughout quite a few Zoroastrians. So I feel very good about it. If somebody wants to know more about my Monajat CD, I'll let you know, but not now. Now, Monajat that I'm going to, interestingly, Sir Jeevanji Modi's grandson, Jamshed Modi, who resides in Bombay, wrote a Monajat in English also. So he contacted me through my website and requested me to sing. So I composed and I recorded for him, and I really feel humbled and honored to do that. Now, today's Monajat that I'm going to sing is Khudavand Khavindo Parvardigar. And I think you all know, most of you know, but I'll just tell you something about it in English for the people who don't know Gujarati. The meaning of that Monajat is, and how it is in the entrepreneurship. That's just my thought. As I said, I'm not the scholarly person, but this is my thought. So I bowed, it says, Khudavan the Khavindo Parvardigar. So I bow down to you at your feet, O Lord, as if I'm nothing. And so give me the wisdom so I correct my mistake every day and be kind, and I keep searching for kindness forever. So in entrepreneurship is a learning experience, how it's related to in entrepreneurship. It's a learning experience we do, and we do mistakes, but we learn from the mistakes and then be successful. That's how it comes to me. Then it says, Balu hakma mara te janu nahi. I don't know what is good for me, but you know what is good for me. And therefore, I'm bowing down to you, and so bless me. And that really, I think it brings the, like everybody says, humility, to surrender. So even in business, you need to surrender, like every day in life. And the last one is that Ketari madathium rakhu vivek, manashni gavashni kunashni nek. So with your help, I respect others, I bring humbleness to myself. So make me humble person. And so if we are not humble in the business, our business will be not successful. It will be unsuccessful. Because everything is done, as we know in life, that He's there. But there is something behind it that's always there, and that makes us successful. So the gist of this Monajat is to be humble, bring the humility. And you had said, good takeaway from this Monajat is to be humble and to surrender to God. Now I will just, I hope you don't mind, I will sing. This is just my understanding of this Monajat. Sorry, I have a music. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Divinity might be wanting you to sing without music.
No, okay. It will sound good. I tell you, I'll finish it in 1 minute.
We will wait. Not worry.
खुदावन उखाविन ओ परवरदिगार नमो तारी तारकाय हूँ खाकसार भयो रोज आखिर शरू થઈ છે રાત તને રાજી કરવા થી છું હું પછાત दयालु खुदावन ओ जगनारे बा दया कर मने तारु दामन तू आ ये भूलो सुधारो हवे रोज रोज भलाई वधारो करी नित्य कोश खुदावन ओ खाविन ओ परवरदिगार नमो तारी तारकाय हूँ खाकसार भलो हक मारा ते जानू नहीं भलो जे मने ते तू जाने सही बहु आज जूथी नमीने खुदा करूं छो दुआ शिशु दे सदा खुदावन उखाविन ओ परवरदिगार नमो तारी तारकाय हूँ खाकसार कि तारी मदद थी हुराको विवेक मनश्नी गवश्नी पुनश्नी ने मने पास बानी मतारी सुवार भला काम करवा सवारे उठार खुदावन उखाविन ओ परवरदिगार नमो तारी तारकाय हूँ खाकसार
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This brings us to the end of the fireside chat. Of course, question answers we will do a bit after Baman's keynote address to all of us. Are you okay with time? Good, super. So then we brought in the 4 sections to you, putting the entire the eschatology of our Zoroastrian literature, mythology, esoterics, etc. into certain perspectives. We first gave you about the need for spiritual intelligence. Then we brought in the element of what is the implication of the esoterics, with Marisban telling us about the prayers. Then we brought in Perrin to tell us about her journey and why, if you want to succeed, devotion, dedication, focus, and the divine help is very critical, and how you get around doing that. And of course, she gave us the meaning of a very beautiful Monajat. So if there are questions, please make it a point to ask them, and after that we will invite Baman to handle questions onto the floor. Sure.
Question to you, ma'am. The script that you used in your calligraph, is it Avastha script or is it just a Persian script?
No, it's Avesta script. It's the new improved Avesta script, which was created the 6th century AD.
Adil, compliments for a very well-moderated session. We all enjoyed it. Thank you. A very simple question for Edward Hatiram. Where is your boutique Datga in Udwada? It's in your residence. Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers for a very, very insightful session. My question is for Edward Hathiram. Just if you could broadly highlight in Zoroastrianism, is there any concept of means to an end? Basically, if anything about means justifying an end. And I'll tell you my context. If you look at, for example, the Mahabharata philosophy, where during the final battle, it is Lord Krishna who, in that sense, advises the Pandavas to break certain norms to achieve certain ends. So as far as the Zoroastrian religion is concerned, is there any concept of means justifying an end, or to what extent, or whether means are as important for an end? Thank you.
That's a very interesting question and a difficult question.
And can come only from a lawyer.
So, the means, the ends don't justify the means. Of course, this widely used story of Sri Krishna advising Arjuna to break certain norms while fighting, because the fight was the fight between good and evil. I am not a student of Hinduism, so I cannot comment very deeply on that. As far as Avesta is concerned, the Ashambho very clearly states that he is righteous only for the sake of righteousness and no other thing. Also, if you see in the other scriptures, for example, in the Vandidat, where there is a dialogue between Ahura Mazda and Zarathustra, and Zarathustra asks certain questions of Ahura Mazda. Even in the Gathas, where those questions take a very deep metaphysical and spiritual angle. And in other scriptures, it takes a more canonical angle, that thou shalt do this and thou shalt not do that. In all those cases also, never, ever has it been prescribed that you can do something wrong because ultimately you want to do something right. Never. Because something which is intrinsically wrong can never lead to something which is intrinsically right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My name is Jimmy Khan. Ages ago, I knew that Lord Krishna was called by 1,000 names. How come today I came to know that in Zoroastrianism also we have 1,000 names? Why was it not known earlier? Never.
So the book of 1,001 names, as you know that the Avesta which we have today is less than 5% of the entire Avesta which was composed. All of it was destroyed during the various ravages which took over Iran. First we had Alexander, then we had the Arabs, and then later on in the last 13th, 14th centuries we had the Turks and the Mongols who really destroyed the scriptures. Most of the scripture which we have existing today is only because that scripture was taken and recited by heart by the priests. That is the only reason why we have got only 5% of the scriptures left. Otherwise, even that would have been gone. I'll give you a small introduction that the 21 words of the Yathahuvedio, the original Avesta scripture, was in 21 volumes. Each volume was named after one word of the Yathahuvedio. So you had they were known as Nasks, volumes. And it is said in one of the scriptures that there were 84,000 cow hides on which these scriptures were written in golden ink. And there were 2 copies, and they were kept in 2 different libraries in Iran, at 2 corners of Iran, so that if some calamity happens, 1 copy would survive. Both these copies were destroyed by Alexander, who unfortunately today we call the Great, who is not great at all. And secondly, there were 21 families of Moabeds. Each family was given the task of completely knowing by heart 1 particular naskh. The only purpose in life the father would hand down to the son was to recite that 1 naskh by heart, so that even if something like that happened, the scripture could be restored. It was like a backup. Unfortunately, the so-called great Alexander also had each and every family member of those 21 families butchered and massacred after the library was set alight. So we lost that also. So what was left, what we have left today, is mainly the ceremonial texts, because they were learned by hundreds and thousands of priests, and he could not destroy all of them. And they learnt it by heart. And I want to say a bit about parents' calligraphy aspect also, that if you see some of the ancient manuscripts, unfortunately most of the manuscripts today of our religion are abroad, because we could not take care of them. And the earlier scholars who first came to Iran to India during the colonial times, they took away those manuscripts. Thankfully, they have preserved them in the libraries of Europe, and they are there. But some of these manuscripts were beautiful examples of calligraphy. Beautiful. And it was a lifetime's work to make 1 manuscript, because paper was not easily available. Paper was one of the most expensive commodities at that time. So old Parsi priests, they would collect old sudres, the sudre which was worn and torn. They would collect those and let them decompose in water. And then it was washed repeatedly until very fine fibers were done. Then thin screens were made, and those fibers were dried on those thin screens. And over a period of months, you could produce 1 A3 size paper. That paper was used for the manuscripts. Then the priests, because there was no electricity, so you had lamps in the house. Special lamps were made, and they had special covers where the soot was collected, and that soot was mixed with certain chemicals and made into ink. Because a Zoroastrian scripture could not be written by ink made by a non-Zoroastrian. Then, in the scripture itself, certain words were highlighted in red. For example, Aura Mazda was always written in red. Now, black ink you could make. So red ink, they would steep saffron in water for many days. And then that saffron water would be used to write the name of Aura Mazda. And another interesting point about these manuscripts is that wherever the word Angramenush came, and Angramenu comes very many times in the scripture, it was always written other way around. Means the paper would be turned, and then it would be written, because his thinking is always wrong. To denote that, it was written the other way around. So these manuscripts are available in the libraries of London, in Stockholm, in Stuttgart, in Denmark, and some of them are here in our K.R. Kama Oriental Institute. Unfortunately, they are not widely available, so people can see. And so I'm really thankful that Perin Aunty has taken all those things and put them in a very modern and stylistic and calligraphic concept. So her work is incredible. But I also want to make this point that those priests who really worked their hearts out, and 1 manuscript would have minimum 300 to 400 pages, because a Vandidar is that long. So it would take them years to make that manuscript. And there were rich Parsi sethyas, or businessmen, who would sponsor the priests, because they didn't have money. So they would go to them and say, "Sir, I want to write 1 manuscript. So can I write it? Will you sponsor it?" So he would say yes, and give the money, and he would collect the paper, then make the ink, then start writing it on an auspicious day, and then finish the manuscript. And when the manuscript was finished, at the end, there is something which is known as a colophon. A colophon is a summary, who has written this manuscript. So he would write that I am Mihirban, son of Zarthus, son of, and he would give his own genealogy, however many generations he knew, 15, 16, 17, of living in this village. I started this manuscript on this rose of this month of this year. And I have finished it with the grace of my sponsor, so and so, on this rose, on this on this year, and may God accept my humble service. Navsari Library ma bhi hai, yes. So again, to answer your question, the 101 names of God, which we generally know, the 101 names of God is actually used at the beginning of the yasna ceremony. When the yasna ceremony is done, the priest holds a ring. On that ring is wrapped the hair of the sacred bull, Varasyaji, and that ring is taken in his right hand, and then there is a large pot of water on his right, and he takes the ring, and while reciting those 101 names, he vibrates that ring in the water, thereby charging that water with the 101 names of God. So that was always learnt by heart. But 1001 names is a little difficult, you will accept, to remember by heart. So unfortunately, over a period of time, those manuscripts were lost, and 101 names remained, because they were always written at the beginning of the manuscript. By God's grace, there is no coincidence, there is only God's grace. By God's grace, a manuscript of these 1001 names was found in a small house by a person, and he showed it then to another priest and an advanced person. And they said, yes, okay, this looks genuine, it's not fake, it's not a forgery. Let's at least print it before something happens to it. So it has been printed in the same order, 1951 ma. It has been printed in the same order as it was found, without any additions, without any alterations. And full credit to Perinanti, because she has taken 1001 names and made them into this beautiful book, so that now at least we will not lose it until the next savior comes.
Very interesting discussion I had with Edward, and which I would like you to hold on. You will, if you observe very closely, the 101 names, not all 101 names appear in the 1001 names. So I asked him, how come the 101 names don't appear in these 1001 names? So he gave an answer.
So these 101 names come at the end of the 1001 names. Also, some of the names are repeated. Also, some of the names are in Avesta. For example, Aura Mazda is Avesta. When you call it in Pahlavi, it becomes Hormuz. So similarly, certain names which are in Avesta have also been given in Pahlavi. So that is why there is some repetition also. But ultimately, it is just a matter of devotion, that one day, maybe one time in your life, on say maybe a birthday or a very important day, or when you have really free time, you can take up the book and just recite those names one at a time. And reciting 1001 names takes time. So it can be a good spiritual exercise. Also, if I can take 2 minutes, the 101 names of God as written in Gujarati, that is fine. But as written in Persian and in Avesta calligraphy, have a very important devotional and meditational aspect. In ancient Buddhist theology, in Buddhism, they have something, and also in Hinduism, they have something which is known as a bija mantra. A bija mantra, bij means seed. Means it is a seed mantra, means it is an essential mantra. And these mantras were drawn, or rather calligraphically written in Sanskrit, in certain Hindu books. And a master who would take a student as a disciple, after observing the student and seeing his characteristics, would select one bija mantra and give it to that student and say, this is your mantra for life, learn it. And they would sit with that mantra and that drawing as a meditational tool also. So people who say that Parsisma, there is no meditation, there is lots of meditation. You just need the time for it. You can take any of these words, 100,000 names of Aura Mazda, and all are names of God, and all are beneficent and all are beneficial. You can just take one name and see the calligraphy which he has done, and just concentrate on that. that would be a wonderful meditation exercise also for people.
No, just a suggestion. Can we not today scan everything and have it available on a volume? Not only the calligraphy, but even those volumes you talk about lying in stock.
So, yeah, so those are, generally libraries are very possessive over the manuscripts. A project has been started where each and every manuscript has been scanned and is available on a global database. But that, unfortunately, that database is only available to scholars for when they make their translations, they would like to see how one word is appearing in different manuscripts. Sometimes there is a spelling mistake or a spelling error. So they use that database to do that. Unfortunately, that database is not available to people like us. So maybe with your influence and thing, we can. It's a project we can take up, definitely. If not the foreign universities, at least the manuscripts which we have at the Merjirana Library in Navsari and the K.R. Kama Oriental Institute Library in Bombay, which are the two largest sources of manuscripts in India. The K.R. Kama Library manuscripts were microfished by a grant given by Government of India. And the manuscripts at Merjirana Library in Navsari, some of them have been scanned, but there again there is a problem of funds. So if somebody can do that, yeah, we can do that. And we can put it up.
Sorry, who decides this, that we cannot give these manuscripts out to people like you?
We can't see those manuscripts are in a very, very brittle state because they are over 3, 4, 6, 7, 800 years old. So I mean, you just can't handle them and turn the page. But like I said, the librarians are extremely possessive, and we have to approach them and get it done. Yeah.
Super. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
To all of you to please remain on stage. Yeah. Thank you very much for a very, very interesting session, everyone. We'd just like to felicitate you. We start with Temas. Please give a memento to pair it. Yazdi, is Yazdi there? I would request you to give the memento to Edward Hathiram, please. Farida, would you please give the memento to Mani? And Veera to Adil, please.
I'm part of the team.
Thank you. We'll take a short break of 5 to 10 minutes so that people can just, yeah. And if anybody is interested, Perin, your books are available, right? Yeah, so, yeah, you can, yeah.
This was supposed to be a loo break, not a chat break. Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we move on with our session. We have a very interesting session by our keynote speaker for today evening, Mr. Baman Irani from Rustomji Builders. His topic is Agile Entrepreneurship in Enchanting Boundless and Ambiguous Markets. I would invite Utokshi to please, Dinas to please come and introduce Baman.
Before that, we just make an announcement. I saw some young people now, they've also run out.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, let me wish you all and your family a very happy New Year 2024. I will be talking to you briefly about Baman Irani. Baman is a successful entrepreneur and well-known personality in our community as management guru. He is very disciplined, self-made, hardworking, and highly respected in his industry. He is a martial art practitioner and supporter of the Zoroastrian cause. Mr. Baman R. Irani is the chairman and managing director of Rustamji Group, Keystone Realtors Limited, and is the driving force behind the success story of the real estate group Rustamji. He is a first-generation real estate developer and entrepreneur with over 27 years of experience and knowledge of the industry. Having founded Rustamji Group in 1996, the company has evolved into one of the most sought-after and respected real estate companies in Mumbai, with a sound track record of sustained growth, customer satisfaction, and innovation. The group has a development portfolio that includes 20 million square feet delivered and another 32 million saleable square feet of forthcoming projects in the pipeline. Rustamji continues to transform the Mumbai real estate landscape with its numerous high-end gated communities, high-rise towers, and large townships. He is also the founder and trustee of the Rustam Irani Foundation, which manages and runs institutes in all spheres of education, from preschool to post-graduation, with the capacity of more than 12,000 students, with schools in Daisar, Virar, and Thane. An active contributor at various industry platforms, Mr. Irani is the current president of CREDAI National and past president 22-23 of CREDAI MCHI. Both bodies actively involved in making the industry more organized and progressive by networking closely with government representatives and policymakers. Apart from the above, Mr. Baman Irani continues to drive the legacy of the world-famous Java, Yazdi, and BSA brand of motorcycles that were launched in India by the Irani family in 1961, with manufacturing unit in Mysore and Bangalore. Today, both brands are back in full swing production, back on the roads, and have garnered a lot of attention from the biking fraternity. A family man of the core, to the core, he believes in family culture at the workplace as seen in his unique style of leadership and employee-centric decision-making. Welcome, Mr. Bamanira.
Thank you.
Before I start, where are the rest of your friends? Call them in. What do you mean everyone is in? I saw a few more. Look, an honest confession. I came here thinking I'd be speaking to people who I can guide, but then I stand in front of you and I feel very small. I think you all should speak to me and guide me. So what I'm going to say is going to be a little bit of a mix of my own story. Some things, I'm not a management guru. Some things that I have learned along the way. And my basic mantra in life. Okay? So for you all especially. Okay? I think it was the father of our nation who said, find purpose, the means will follow. Sometimes we all do what we love, and that is what your generation has been told all the time, do what you love and success will come and stuff like that. And then sometimes with people who are blessed like me, we're usually thrown into a situation and told, now love this, do it, achieve it, do whatever has to be done. Short story, Dad passed away when I was 19. I was put straight away in the sense I was doing my engineering at that point in time. Didn't enjoy that too much, but I was there. So I was told that I'd have to go to be in the factory. Happily accepted, because motorcycles were and still are in a way my huge love. And the reason I couldn't attend your function was because I was riding with my son trying to inculcate the love for two wheels in him, but I don't think I'm very successful with that. But yeah, I was sent there and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know whether I began to love it because I was there, or I started, basically it was my love and I was sent there. Didn't last very long, but in that short span of about 5 years, I set up 2 plants. Again, you have to understand, I was not an engineer then. Not that it ever made much of a difference because the real world, a company runs differently. I just met Mernosh right now who will tell you about forgings and how things are. We had a forging plant. Where's Mernosh? We had a forging unit very close to our factory, and then we had a die casting in our factory. But I set up 2 plants. One was in Izmir in Turkey, which manufactured, not manufactured, but we sent the entire engines from here, and then we in a way allowed them to have their own suspension, horns, lights, etc., and sent the key critical items from here. And the other one was surprisingly in Tehran in Iran, a very small plant. I went only once to Iran. I didn't want to go there again because it was too controlled for a young man. At that point of time, I was about 22, 23. So I didn't want to really go there because it's too controlled, but I had no choice. So I went and stayed there, and I still remember I took a flight that went in on one day of a week, and then the same day of the following week, you could take the flight back. And you have to believe me, the thrill I had on my face when I was coming back. But I had no option, so I did that. And I learnt a lot. What did I learn? I learned that you don't need to know everything. I learned that you can learn as you move along, right? Today I was here. I mean, I was meant to come speak. Adil brought me here. I was meant to speak and then immediately run back. I'm glad I was late. I'm glad I could sit through the session and hear, especially your singing and Perin's, talk about how she went around doing the calligraphy. And though I don't know much, and Erwad, part of your talk about the religion and right and wrong, and that's when I asked, the question that was asked to you about how do you know that the means don't define the end when 95% of our scriptures may not ever have seen the light of day in our time. But having said that, I realized you don't have to know everything when you start something off. And that happened to me twice in my life. First, when I was thrown there to be part of the company. I still remember I used to just walk around. When someone asked me about my education, I say I'm from the school of hard knocks, because that's really what I did. I went everywhere and banged my head and picked up things and learned them. I did take a lot of effort. I'd be happier if you sat down. I know you're a very young man and you can stand there, but yeah. So, and the second time it happened to me was when many years later, when the company was not doing very well for a lot of reasons, some of them mistakes, as I learnt later on in life, reading some management books, that the family had not done succession planning very well. So I guess these were mistakes that were made for a reason. Today I'm very aware that I could drop dead tomorrow morning, and if you come to my company, and you know the company, there are 2 other people who could literally take off from where I have left. And having said that, I don't really run the entire company. I'm just someone who builds teams and allows them to grow. And but the second time this happened to me was when I got into real estate. Again, I didn't know a damn. I was just told that the company would need money, so you need to go out there and raise it. And at that point of time, we didn't have funds, etc., that went out there giving. You had the banks which would loan you money, or then you went out there and sold something or mortgaged something to get money. And I was put there to raise the money. And we had a small asset in a place called Bandra in Mumbai. And I went around meeting people. Again, you should remember I was 21, 22, fairly gullible. But I guess somewhere the Zoroastrian in me stayed the course. People tried to bribe me with, hey, why don't you take this fast car? It's super sexy. Just take it for a drive and, come to us tomorrow. They were trying to lure me. And I told them, dude, no, I can't afford it. And what if I dented your car? I wouldn't. Hey, it doesn't matter. You're a great guy, this, that. But, yeah, I didn't fall for that. I'm glad about that. I try to tell my kids that you shouldn't fall prey too easy to, anything that looks too sexy, because it could get you into trouble. But not only that, when I was out there to sell the property, I had to understand all the property terms. I had to hang around with lawyers who I don't like or didn't like very much then. But I love now. I love. You guys get us into trouble knowingly, and then you get us out of trouble very easily. I didn't enjoy lawyers. I didn't enjoy voluminous reading of documents. And those were the days when there were no computers, and then, things used to get printed with those typists printing them out. I'm talking of 91, 92, something, I don't remember, 92. And they were still like, I think even if there were computers, they were in their infancy and you didn't get so many copies and then you wrote in red and then you kind of wrote in blue and you know how it was in the old days, right? But anyway, long story short, didn't enjoy all of that, but had to do it. There was nobody behind me who could say, Dikra, I'll do it for you. So I had to do it myself. I had to sit down for long hours. I was blessed with a lot of energy, which is something that kind of held me through. And I want to tell all of y'all, you're all blessed with a lot of energy. Each and every one of us is blessed with a lot of energy. But not just to look within and get it. Or sometimes you're left with no option and that's why you get it. Went through all of that. Came away selling the family asset, raising the money. Then the company shut down. For whatever reasons, we lost a lot of money out there. Deep in my heart, I harbored this desire to continue and, someday bring the company back, which I will come to a little later now. And with everything that I did in real estate, that is trying to build a building on a 2,100 square meter plot in a place called Dahisar. And again over here, the Bawa really helped. The Bawa brand really helped. And that's why whenever I speak to you young people, I only say one thing, your legacy is not yours to destroy. It is yours to grow. And if you can't grow it, it doesn't matter. Don't screw it. Sorry. Okay, don't destroy it. Edit that, please. Don't destroy it. Because, when we launched the building, and builders weren't really a very good word at that point of time. I don't know even if they are right now. But at that point of time, people didn't trust builders. But you have to believe me when I tell you that people actually trusted us. And sometimes I used to query one or two of those who became my, I would not say dear friends, but people who I could talk to a lot. And I'd say, what made you come over here and just, put down your hard-earned money? I've never built a building in my life. I mean, I'm going to do the best I can, and I will build that building. You have my word for it. But what made you trust me? And we were selling in 96, I remember, there was a down market, right? It was a bear market, and flats weren't selling, but we were selling. So I was very lucky. And then one of them said, boss, tu bawa hai. You will do it right. Don't worry. We believe you. So they just thought I was blessed with some inherent gift, which is okay. We all are. One just has to kind of drive it. And I still remember my friend, was with me, and we had a contractor, and the contractor tried to con us, but he kept on teaching us new terminology. And the one thing I did, even then, was I was never shy of asking people questions. I mean, it's okay to be a moron. It's okay. It's okay to tell people I don't know. Teach me, right? And I've seen a lot of people kind of stop there. They want to sound intelligent just because maybe they look good or they come from high-standing places in life, etc. Maybe I had nothing to lose. So all I did was I kept asking questions. And I encourage each and every one of you, no matter what your age is. If you don't know something, please ask questions. And you know what? One is not required to know everything also in life, right? We don't need to know everything. I'll go through life not knowing a lot, and I'm okay with what I know, as long as I can use what I know very, very well. And that's what I keep telling in my company. Technology, these guys keep coming and say, okay, we can do this and we can do this. And I keep telling them, what is the fundamental need, right, of the technology? That is what it's got to serve. Just because you want accolades tomorrow at some conference of IT, and then you go and say, I did this, I did this, I did this. I spent a great amount of money on my company, and what did we get? We actually got zero. So it's very important to be functional in that fashion. Whatever you know, whatever you do, whatever you have, has got to be put to use. And coming back to find purpose, the means will follow. I have never seen a dearth of people coming up and helping you when you are resolved in what you want to do. And this is true even today. So this little story, and I will jump back into real estate in a bit and then go back into some life learnings. For a long time, I wanted to restart the company called motorcycles, called Javas and Yazdis. And I failed. And I failed, and I failed, right? But I never gave up. Till a point where it became more and more dormant. It was not as active as it had to be. But I'm fortunate, and I said this when the bike was launched, 18th November 2018. When I was standing on that stage, I said, somewhere up there, my father is going to be a very happy man that this dream never died in my heart, right? But it was there. And then that's why one fine day I get a call from Anand Mahindra, and he just says, I want you to meet somebody. And I don't wear suits like this unless I'm talking to people like you. I usually fold my sleeves. Adil has seen me with a shirt and just fold my sleeves when I'm working. But I wore a suit. And I went to the office, and then my EA tells me that so-and-so has come and he's been sent from Anand Mahindra's office. So there I go, I straighten up and all. I say, please send him in quickly. And in comes a guy with a kurti, right, with Om written all over it, flowing hair, beads around him. And I said, excuse me for a second. I went out. I said, are you sure we've not screwed up? This is not the guy, right? He says, no, sir, this is the guy. So I went back inside. And he had come to buy the brand from me. And I said, he started his negotiations. How much do you take from the brand? I said, 0. I'll just be very happy just seeing this brand back on Indian roads. And somewhere up there, my father will be too happy. And that's what I want to do. And he was, I think, a little shocked because, he had heard of the zeal and zest of Babas, which they call madness. And he had never experienced it. So when he stepped out of that room, I just told him, but I have one request. Can I be a part of this journey? So he went out, and 15 minutes later, I get a call from Anand Mahindra, and Anand says, I don't know what you've done, but this guy had come to buy the brand, and you kind of, became a part of the story again. So welcome, amigo. And that's how, when we launched the book, it was called The Three Amigos, and that's how we kind of, came back. So the learning out here is never let go what you truly love or believe or want to do. It could be your father's legacy. It could be just I was 19 when I lost my dad, right? So maybe it was just that heroism in my head. Whatever it was, it's all right. And I kind of thrill today at the fact that that is something that I could restart. I don't have a major role right now in it. I'm very interested in the design. I'm very interested in the marketing part of it. But technology has moved way beyond my years. I don't think I can actually add value. But I can add value to how it feels, how it rides. And I'm very actively involved in that part, not in the rest of it. Coming back to real estate, the fundamental difference between the way I operate and the way some of my peers operate, I kind of build teams. I'm not someone you'll kill me if you made me do the same thing 100 times. I recognize that about myself. I know my shortcomings. So I said the first thing I need to do is create, process, and then hand it down. And then just monitor the process for some time, otherwise get monitors for that and move out of the way. Because you can do it much better if you teach somebody else to do it, and then it doesn't matter if the guy makes mistakes. Most of all, sometimes, in my family I've observed, people get very upset. They're like, oh, but I would have done it this way and this is the right way. Yeah, you could have, but then that's all you'd be doing, right? You'd not be able to kind of grow it. I could run a kirana store, I could run a mom and pop shop, I could run a one building at a time company. But that was never my desire, that was never my dream. My dreams were much bigger. So you pay heed to your dreams, you understand your shortcomings, and then you kind of work around those shortcomings, or you identify your strengths, and then you work at building your strengths. Another thing that, your parents would have told you time and again, you're bad at this, work on it. I'll give you contra advice. You're good at something, work on that, right? Because that will actually drive you up. I'm not saying do not work on your weaknesses. Do not ever take that in that fashion, right? I could say something and what you understand is of more importance. And that's what Osho Rajneesh used to say. I will tell you everything. You choose what is right for you. So likewise, do not take it that you should not work on your weaknesses. But please, believe me, if you have one strength, just build that and build that and build that again, right? Because that is the one competitive advantage that has been gifted to you by the divine or your genes or your upbringing or whatever. And then again, that's another story about Krishna, that it was more important where he was brought up rather than where he was born. So, so whether it's your upbringing, whether it's by the virtue of the friends that you have, the strengths that you've developed over time, by your own skills, just hone those and keep those close to you. Now, just a bit about the business aspect, right? Everybody talks about an MBA from God knows this university and that. I don't want to take any names and, going to the finest universities, etc. I want to tell you all about a dear friend of mine who runs a very successful unit. And he never hires the best or the number one, number two, number three. He never hires them. He actually makes it a point to be the last person on an interview at a campus. And this goes against everything in the grain. But let me tell you the story. He never hires from any of the top universities because he believes they are entitled and that's why they are there. Maybe it's his thinking. Maybe he's not entirely right. But having said that, listen to what he does. He kind of goes to Jharkhand. He goes to some unseen or unheard of place, and he kind of meets up with, let's say, the last batch. And the only thing that he's looking for, at least what he tells me, is attitude. He says, because I can train everybody for skills. That is already there. And if they are basic, I mean, if they are in that college, that means they've done something right to be there. And I'm okay as long as they've got the attitude. And the attitude means everything that I think, Perrin, you mentioned about humility and learning and whatever else there is, right? You have to have all those skills. He only hires those people, and then he kind of trains them. And he's told me this 100 times. He said, you're wasting your time. When you hire, go out there and just hire the absolute bottom rung, as long as they've got that energy, desire, zeal. And I'm beginning to see sense in it, because that's all I had. And now, because I'm somewhere else, why have I changed the outlook, right? So big learning for me. Going forward, it's not that we will as a company not give the best an opportunity. Of course we will give the best an opportunity, but the best means what? An attitude to learn, an attitude to kind of accept a mistake, an attitude to say that he's really got to grind before he gets there, right? All of you have, I think at least till now, had it very easy. But please believe me, life is a grind. And if you're not ready for this grind, you're not ready for anything. And the other thing that my wife and I always have a problem, when she's teaching the kids. And again, don't take this in any way and don't tell her that I said so. But she's out there to make my kids perform, to be the best, to try and come first. And I say, you're an alpha mom, that's great. You were an achiever, that's great. But there's 50% or whatever of my genes in there. They aren't going to be like number one, number two, right? Don't beat them to the ground just because they cannot make it to number one, number two. But what I keep telling my kids, and what I keep telling her also is, what I don't see in a lot of young people nowadays is resilience. Okay? And if I could build one gift in every youth, it would be the ability to be resolved, to be strong, to accept failure, to accept basically whatever happens to you. It could be good, it could be bad. And every time I get an opportunity to speak to a team of younger people, I only tell them one thing. Acceptance is such a beautiful thing. Because when you accept, you will understand that your success is not your entire or your own doing. And your failure is also there for a reason. Use your failure like a stepping stone. I mean, these are all old adage, old sayings, etc. But it is true. Do not gloat in your glory and do not suffer in your failures. As a matter of fact, failures are also, in a way, if learnt from, celebrate them. You should know why you failed. Was it because you didn't give it enough effort? Was it because you didn't know enough? Was it because there was somebody else who knew something else better? Right? What was it that was there which is not there with you, and that's why you failed? And as long as you learn that, that is fine. And let me tell you, I was at a talk by Professor Ramcharan. I'm sure all of you have heard of him. Very celebrated guru, or rather what they call a mentor or guide. And it surprised me when I heard that can you guess which is the largest group of entrepreneurs in the world? I mean, what business drives the largest group of entrepreneurs in the world? I'm not going to take answers because it'll take too much time. But it is your street side vendor. That is the largest group of people in any kind of business in the world. Your street side vendor. And who we call thelewalas, right? You know a thelewala? Or you're just too polished for all of that? Seriously, you don't know a thelewala? Where are you from? Australia. I'm so sorry. Okay, you don't know thelewala. You should read some Indian books. So coming back to that, a street side vendor, who's also called a thelewala out here, is not somebody who's educated, not somebody who's taught anything, except for the fact that he may be going around with his immediate elder brother or his father or whatever, and doing the same stuff that was done. But he is, and just understand the simplicity of his business. He goes and buys every single day. For him, every single day, or I'm just using him, it could be a her. For him, every single day is just another day for survival. And that's why he's got to keep his skills honed. He's got to be sharp. So what are the things he does? He first, knows what to buy. He's evaluated what his consumer is going to need and what he's got to buy and how much he's got to buy. Then as he goes through the day, let's say it's a morning to evening fruit vendor, by let's say late afternoon, 4:30, he's already started understanding that maybe today's sales aren't going to be what they are. So then he starts going into the location where he's had more success, or starts, in the Indian sense, shouting out, Kela lelo, Peru lelo, that kind of stuff. Because now he's announcing, he's advertising, he's marketing himself, he's shouting out and saying, listen, I'm here, buy it. Then he kind of drops prices in the afternoon. Sometimes he cannot even afford it. But he knows if he does not recover, and he's working on a 5 or 10% margin. And again over here, the important part is he's raised money at 2% per month. And just so that everybody in this room understands, and not the finance guys, but the 2% per month is actually 32% in a year, not 24% simplistically put. He understands he's paying that kind of usurious rates of interest. And he understands that today he's got to break even. If he doesn't break even or if he doesn't sell, tomorrow his stock is going to be worth nothing. So it's a perishable, right? And just imagine that man at that level, or that person at that level, sometimes not more than 18 or 20 years old, has understood all this because for him it is survival. He could either perish, he could either, grow. And he's got to decide what it's got to be. Then again, 2-3 other facts that Professor Ram brought about. He endears himself to children. If a child comes to buy, and you'll observe this amongst those of you that have dealt with street side vendors, you go and ask for a podi of sheng, he'll give you one and he'll just give it to you and he'll not even look at you. But if a kid comes, he'll look at the kid and say, hey, and he puts a little more, like that 2 sheng danas or two grains of whatever he's putting extra. And the kid is extra happy. And when the kid is extra happy, automatically the parents are becoming happy. So what is he doing? He's building his brand. Who's he endearing himself to? The kids. What are the kids going to do? They're going to come back tomorrow. The parent will look for the cheaper option, the somewhere else option, but he's building his brand, right? He's understood his location. He's going to his location and selling himself. So business isn't that tough, right? What it takes is some clear, sensible thought processes, your ability to want to work, your ability to want to understand what will work and what won't. That is, every single day he's learning. And he's not educated, he's not come from Harvard, he's just a street side vendor, he's come from a poor family. He's making 2 ends meet, sometimes, supporting a family at home, and that's why working double shifts. And this was so hard hitting for me because we forget in our, and of course he endears himself to his customers. We forget in our existence, and it's easy, and I would say that maybe many a times failing with us also, we forget who we are serving, what we are there for, what is the prime purpose of our existence as a business. And the day you forget that, the day you go into some, I am me and I decide, you're finished. And that has happened to a lot of businesses, right? I could give you examples from the automotive world, I could give you examples from the fashion brands. They don't continue to exist today anymore because I think at some point of time they became bigger than what they were, or they thought they were bigger than what they were. So when I speak to the younger ones, I usually tell them that what Mahatma Gandhi, the father of this nation, had said, and I cannot paraphrase because I don't remember the exact words, but he said, it is your customer who actually pays your salary, my salary, everybody's salary. You're never doing him a favor. You're all the time thankful to him because he's walked in or she's walked in and she's given you the opportunity to serve her. So that is something you never forget. And, I hope I've put in a clear distinction between education and intelligence. Intelligence is something that we all need. Education is something we can all do better with, right? But don't confuse the two. If you're not educated, not that anyone in this room isn't, I am not very educated, but do not confuse education and intelligence. Do not deride people just because they come from a strata where you feel they've not had the same good life that you have and not really had the education you do, because a formal education is only a way or a tool. It's not really the end all of everything. Now, I'm going to toot the horn of this country a little bit for those of you who are in Australia, and you should look at India as an option. At a simple 7% GDP growth, we will be a $10 trillion economy in the next 10 years. Okay? By the same 7% GDP growth, we will be a $20 trillion economy in about 20 years. What does that mean for you, me, everybody? You, me, everybody, they can keep doing their businesses, is that there is tremendous opportunity available for all of us, no matter what you do, whether, when we were going through college, it was become an engineer, become a doctor, become an accountant, now there are so many you guys have so many open, options to you. And I believe the same is in business as well. If a person has identified a need, and then stays true to what the consumer wants, he can make a business out over here in India, right? And our population is no longer the poor population that is shown in our movies. It is actually a very good mid-sized or rather mid-market, what they call the middle class. The middle class is growing in a much better fashion than what you and I know. And a good test of this, and I was telling my friend Manoj from Indore, that Indore is slated to be, in the research that we've done at CREDAI, as the #1 growing tier 2 town in the country. Then there are others like Kochi, etc. But coming back, so basically, if you have the ability to set up or even do a business that somebody else is doing, but you have a competitive advantage that you worked for yourself, you're ready to slog it out, you're ready to kind of be smart and put your capital in the right place or in the to the right use, and you understand some basic principles of it, and you endear yourself to your consumer, you are set in this country for the next, I would say, at least 20 years. And I've said this out to my developer fraternity. They do not know the opportunity that they're standing on. They just don't know. Everybody is just so busy trying to be better than the guy next to him. I say, forget him, collaborate. Everybody come together, teach each other. And that's an example of the Japanese car industry that I'll quote, and I keep quoting time and again, is that in Japan, they had made it a rule, because the Japanese were lagging behind the Germans and the British car makers, etc. They made it a rule in their country that any technological breakthrough would be shared across all the automotive companies. Can you believe? You spend hours, minutes, days, years working on a technology, but if it's a breakthrough, you will share it with everybody. What they did with that was, they said it's no longer Toyota or Nissan or Honda. It is Japanese cars, right? So production technologies, manufacturing technologies, just the automotive excellence would come from all Japanese cars. And then they said, go out there and kind of add your own bells and whistles to it and kind of market it the way you want to. And that's why the Japanese industry, as most of us know, the automotive industry has taken over the rest of the world. And that's why the made in Japan, because they took great pride in what they did, became that. So again, what does that tell you? If you kind of share what you know, you might actually create a competition which will help you become a little more edgy. And when you become a little more edgy, you will become that much more better, or you will have the desire to at least be that much more better, rather than just, I would say, wallowing in your own success and saying, hey, listen, I'm the best, right? It's really not worth it. So create teamwork amongst people, and your generation is blessed with that. Our generation is to hold all our cards close to our chest. Your generation actually shares a lot of data. So just do more of that and create that competition. Focus on first time right, but never be afraid to make mistakes. If I can say this out loud, and I keep saying it to my kids, do not shy away from mistakes. If you made a mistake, like I said earlier, relish it. But first examine what was the reason for that mistake, right? A few other learnings. Nothing comes without practice. Nothing comes without hard work, at least not in my life. I have not seen it. And anything that's an instant success is also a success for only that instant. It is not going to last you much longer. So you need to train like a champion. And all of us, remember, who was that runner, Carl Lewis? Who holds the record for, never very good with the names. But, the guy actually said that I trained for 9 years, these many months, to be able to run in that 9 or 10 second gap that he did, right? And everybody saw his success, but nobody saw the years of pain and stuff like that. So we need to understand this inherent need of a success is actually a lot of hard work. It's like a duck who's smoothly sailing on the waters, but below the water, you have to believe me, that fellow is paddling away like crazy. Every single day of our life need to keep doing that. And please believe me, it's not a chore, it's actually fun. Once you start enjoying it, it is actually, you should enjoy you should enjoy your work. What do you mean by enjoy your work? You should want to go to work every single day. That's what I feel like. I love going back to my office. And holidays actually, beyond 14 days, actually take the mickey out of me. But the point is, why do I enjoy my work? Because I enjoy the competition. I enjoy seeing people succeed. I enjoy, my own success. I enjoy learning, and that's the kind of team that we create. in our teams, there is one single rule, and you've experienced that in our organization. We are very transparent. You could be anybody at any level, and I will value your contribution to us. And I'm open ears. And when I say I'm open ears, means do not say I. It is my entire team has got a culture of listening. We may not agree. We may not agree. I may not agree with everything that was said on this platform. You don't have to agree with anything that I'm saying right now. But the fact that you have the ability to listen, understand, and take it from all levels, please believe me, some of the brightest ideas come from the simplest thinking minds. And a small example out here, I don't even know if it's true, but it sounds very good, is that when the race to the moon started off, everybody had to write in space. And then they realized that the ink pens don't write in space because gravity doesn't work. And that's when I remember I must have spent a huge amount of money buying that pen which could write. I never understood why I bought it, but I could write the other way around, anti-gravity pen, right? And then I realized, or rather I was told this story, where the Russians didn't have as much money as the US did, so they just used a pencil, right? So be very clear about that, right? So ideas can come because of need, and ideas can come from those who are basic. And again over here, my cousin keeps saying this, it is always the people at the lowest level, those who are doing the work, that you should actually go and speak to. Sam, in your business, in mine, it is great to go and talk to the person at the bottom, that artist or that script writer or that creator, that what exactly is going on. Because finally, no matter what we do, we are just sitting on chairs and tables and shooting out, whatever fancy looking presentations, etc. But the guys who are working. So it's very important to listen to them at all points of time. And I think that's what sets Rustamji a little apart from most of the people. Another thing that we encourage most, and you should also do it, is allow people to think like CEOs. And one of the main reasons why people do not think like CEOs and they kind of pass the buck up is because they don't want to be saddled with the responsibility or the blame, right? And I'm telling every time, once a year I speak to the people at our events, and I tell them that please believe me, if you fail doing something that is in the interest of your company, and you've done it by taking all the precautions that at least you knew what the hell you were doing, you didn't just jump off and try to become a hero, because I don't like heroes. And if you did it, and let's say your boss chastises you, you please come to me. Walk in my door, just come to me and say I'm being chastised or I'm being punished for a mistake that I made, but please listen to me, and I will listen to you, and I'll reinstate you, and I will actually give you a promotion maybe, who knows, right? And the last bit of advice, if I may, comes from Jeff Bezos, who says that, and again I cannot paraphrase, but I remember what he said was, he's not competitor obsessed, he's customer obsessed. Never, ever, ever forget your customer. Learn every single day. The competition is with nobody else in this room. It is only with yourself. And each of us have the opportunity to become better, whether it is in health, whether it is in happiness, whether it is in singing, whether it is in just being better at what we do, empathizing with people. Just learn every single day. There's that one equation that goes 1 raised to the power of 0.0001 at the end of 365 days is still a very large number compared to something that does not really increase. So with that, I'd like to just end and say thank you very much for hearing me out. I'm happy to guide those that wish to learn, but I prefer the youth. Or share my experiences with all of you at any point of time. And I'm also the same person with the same zeal will come to you and learn or ask questions. And I will keep doing that all my life. And even, sometimes my kids get upset with me and they say, what kind of funny questions you're asking? I say, if I don't understand something, I ask. And I wish you do the same. All of us should do the same. We do not have to accept anything we hear. We can ask questions, like I slyly did to Erwar out there and said, if 95% of text is missing, how do you know it's not there? And, we can all just keep being learners for life. And that is the ultimate path to happiness, to glory, to success, to everything you need. But remember, we are very, very blessed. All of us are. And enjoy that. Have gratitude at the base of your heart. And just be thankful. And if there's, I keep telling my kids this, and I don't know why they're coming up so many times in this conversation. Wake up every morning and just say thank you. Just say thank you because you woke up. Thank you because you can breathe. Thank you because you can smell. Thank you because you can taste. Thank you because you can feel. You are too young to understand this. It comes with age. Wisdom doesn't come, it cannot be taught, but it comes with age. So once again, thank you very much. I wish this organization all the very best. Thank you, Adil, for bringing me here. I'd love to meet with some of you all and then take the car back and run back. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a very, very interesting, your life lessons basically, which I think resonate with all of us, including the youth. Please, could you just come back for a moment? Yeah. I would request Prochi to please felicitate Mr. Irani. So, thank you everyone. This brings us to the end of today's session, and I hope that, at least for me, it has been a wonderful evening, a lot of things to hear, to listen, to learn, and I hope it resonates with all of you also. We now move on to the evening networking and entertainment and cocktails and dinner session, where I hope you'll join us. Thank you.
See for yourself. Can you explain what happened session to session? This was the introduction, all right? And then, of course, prayer session. Marzban giving the prayers, and then, of course, the Munajat of the kids. And then this is about Mr. Rustamji. Pawan, you want to see your caricature in the Google? Looks like you, right? This is, of course, can you guess who's this? Temas. Good.
This is you about to finish actually.
All right. Okay.
With 4 lessons.
Okay. Good. And the last is everyone looking.
I thought you better.
So good. And you know what we are going to do throughout the entire 3 days? We are going to do all so that we can put it together. Oh, wonderful. And there it goes on the website. Terrific. Excellent. Very good.